So hypnotic, magical.
Well, the sun is setting here in Medford, Massachusetts, but the dawn seems to be rising on a new day here as the Tufts University football team seems to have found their footing as a 2-1 record heading into the fourth week of the NESCAC season. But their opponents today will be none other than the Bowdoin Polar Bears, as we are here for homecoming weekend exclusively on JumboCast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in here. My name is Andrew Howe, joined alongside Scott Blatt. Scott, this is an exciting matchup. Historically, this is a good matchup here for the Jumbos, but Bowdoin has seemed to really start to pick it up over these past couple of years.
Absolutely. The Jumbos are on a 6-game win streak against the Polar Bears. They won last year 25-13. Previous 2 years before that, they actually shut out the Bears. But this is an improved Polar Bears team. They were 1-17 over 2019 to 2021, of course, omitting the 2020 season, which did not take place. But they are 1-2 this year, but they trounced Hamilton week 1, a team they lost to last year, and they held their own last week against Middlebury. They fell 20-10, but of course Middlebury is the defending champion. They're also 3-0, and they sit atop the NESCAC. So this is a much improved team, and might not be the layup the Jumbos have come to expect in years past.
And some added pressure with all the fans in the stands under the lights for the first time since 2016. And again, Scott, these are two teams that have a lot of various differences here between each other, especially in the statistical category.
Absolutely. Like, just take a look at the pass and rush yards. Kind of flipped from what we expected for the Jumbos, led by Michael Berluti. The Jumbos lead the NESCAC in passing yards, only 6th in rushing yards, whereas they're fit and the Bears come in 5th in both categories. One other thing to note is the time of possession. The Jumbos, more high-octane offense. They're going a lot faster this year. The Bears are much more grinded out, and so we'll see how that plays out today.
And here they come out onto the field. The Tufts Jumbos here for homecoming. Of course, the new lights at Ellis Oval have provided this opportunity. Before, in previous years, homecoming games under the lights were, rented in, but now a very new opportunity here for Tufts, as there are so many fans under the lights. Going to be an absolutely electric crowd here in Tufts University for homecoming weekend. But Scott, again, very competitive matchup between these two teams. What are the keys to the game for each side's victory?
Absolutely. Let's start on the Jumbo side, and it's really about starting off hot. Even this year, they've really struggled a bit out of the gate. Folks remember from week 1 against Trinity that they were down at one point 26-0. They were down 26-3 at half. And even last year against Bowdoin, they actually were down for most of the first half. So the Jumbos really need to work on starting out stronger. They've had Berluti to come back and bring them back into games, so they can't always rely on that. Next, you have Berluti, of course, leading this team, and then play a clean game. We saw in week 1 a lot of miscues and a lot of turnovers. The Jumbos can play a clean game. They're in a good spot, and we're going to turn it over for the national anthem.
Performed today by the Tufts Pep Band.
For the first time in multiple seasons, it starts right here with the victory over the Jumbos.
Absolutely, and there's a couple ways they can do that. First and foremost is got to be confuse the Jumbos offense. One key about Michael Berluti's success over the last 2 weeks is his efficiency. He's passed for over 80. He's thrown over 80% completion percentage in the past 2 weeks, 28 for 33 last week. So he's not only making the right reads, but he's being very, very careful with the ball. And the best way to beat a quarterback like that is you got to change up your reads. You can't let him get into a rhythm. Keep throwing different defenses at him, different setups, and make him uncomfortable, force him into his progressions. The only way you can beat a quarterback that hot. The other thing you can do is take away the run. The Jumbos have struggled a bit rushing the ball. They only had 30 total rushing yards last week. And on the other side, rush the ball yourselves. Middlebury, as we see the kickoff there.
Andre Smith hauls it home and going to get stopped at around the 15. Ball potentially left loose but Smith will battle through all the way around to the Bowdoin 23, and we are underway.
And out comes Michael Berluti to lead this Jumbos offense. He, of course, won NESCAC Player of the Week last week. He's had an unbelievable season. That was his second straight NESCAC Player of the Week. He also won the New England Regional Division III Gridiron Award for the best player in Division III New England this past week.
Jumbo's offense, again, second best in the NESCAC, best passing offense in the NESCAC. Berluti set back the snap. And he's facing pressure early. Going to issue off a throwaway, and the Jumbos start off this game with an incompletion. Yeah,
fortunate there was immediate pressure, and that's one thing we've seen from the Bears this season. They've been a pretty solid job of getting pressure. Overall they've played really stout defense, holding Middlebury to 20 points last week. So Jumbo's got to be aware of that, especially because, Michael Berluti, he's been so great at making things happen with his feet. He's been a dual threat as well. So look for the Jumbos to kind of anticipate that rush, maybe run some option plays for Berluti.
Star wide receiver Phil Lutz all the way back onto the right side. 2nd and 10 over at the 18. Handoff, Tyler Johnson gets his first opportunity of the game, and he breaks through the Bowdoin front line. About a gain of 8 there for Tyler Johnson.
And I actually think they're going to give him that first down there, Andrew. Look at the motion there. And that's a welcome sign for the Jumbos. Johnson been a bit slow on the ground this year, averaging under 4 yards per rush. Jumbos themselves averaging under 100 yards per game and only had 30 total rushing yards last week. So a welcome sight there to see a very successful run early in the game.
A 10-yard gain there for Johnson as the Jumbos get a new set of downs. Berluti with a quick pass back over to Johnson. He'll get another opportunity, but he's taken down by number 47 of
passing play of the game. Berluti was ready to roll out pretty much immediately. They expect to see pressure from the Bears front four.
Johnson has been a factor on the pass as well as the running game. Actually had more passing yards than rushing yards in their last matchup in week 3. Straight down the field. That's Phil Lutz getting to midfield.
And Johnson running. Even you, Andrew.
Seems like the Jumbo
with 4 or 5 people full on every play. You can get tired real fast, and the Jumbos are trying to take advantage of the Bears' aggressiveness.
Gain of 7 there for Johnson, and they're going to send him right through. He's going to break straight through again, and another first down picked up for the Jumbos.
Well, one thing you've noticed is on the passing plays, there's been a lot of pressure, but on the running plays, that hole right in the inside, right through the middle, has been open. It's a great job by the interior linemen of the Jumbos thus far on these rush plays to create a hole for Johnson, and he's found it every single time.
Bowdoin relies heavily on their linebackers for the majority of their tackles. The defensive line, strong, but not strong enough to stop Johnson as he keeps bursting through the middle. Berluti is set back to pass. He goes over to the left, and the pass intended for Jackson Butler goes incomplete.
Solid defense right there. Jumbos, I believe, only sent 3 people down the field on routes, 1 close. Wasn't a lot of space there. It's a good decision by Berluti because the 2 receivers on the far side were definitely much better covered. At least there you minimize risk with any interception opportunities.
Butler yet to receive his first pass of the game. As so far, the targets for Berluti have been Lutz and Johnson that have gone complete. They'll keep Butler here on the left as it is 2nd and 10 for Berluti. a quick rush in here, and comes the run back down. Another nice run coming out from Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is for the outside defensive linemen are going full head of steam for the Polar Bears. The problem is that's not allowing them to get back into the play. They're trying to go straight into the backfield, and that's taking away some pass rush.
Johnson will try to get 3 yards here for this first down, but he seems to have been locked down there. Coy Price playing a major factor. That's a player that you're going to want to watch on the Bowdoin defense.
Absolutely. Coy Price has been unbelievable. He has 14 tackles. He has 2 interceptions. He has 5 pass breakups. He's really been everywhere. As that safety, he kind of goes essentially on every play, and it looks like the Jumbos are leaving the offense on the field, are they not?
Berluti still stays out there. He was a punter in the first week of competition against Trinity, but it seems like they have instead just are electing to go for it here. They have a very standard offensive situation set up. And they have 2 yards to complete this first down. Straight to Johnson down the middle. Did he get enough?
It's going to be close. But one referee blew. Oh, they're saying it's a turnover. Yeah. It looked like the far judge had it short. The other referee blew his head. Made the motion as if he was blowing the clock dead, sometimes signaling a first down, but to me it looked like it was the far linesman who had that ball short. And as you can see, Coach Savetti out there wants an explanation because the linesman closest to him, I believe, was going to give them the benefit of the doubt, give them the first down. And now I think they might measure.
They're going to get another look at it at the very least.
Yeah, they're going to measure.
The angle's not perfect for us here in the booth, Scott, but it did seem like Johnson might have gotten just enough.
Yeah, it's hard for us to tell, but let's see what they say. I think oh, that is really close.
And they're going to rule it. The Jumbos will regain possession as Tyler Johnson gains from the first down.
Well, credit where credit is due. I mean, Coach Savetti was pretty adamant. He said there's no way you can tell if it's that close. If you have the linesmen split on the decision, at the very least give me a measurement. They did. And the Jumbos are the beneficiaries of another first down.
Tufts have scored on 8 of their 11 red zone opportunities so far this season. Haven't gotten into there just yet, but are very, very near.
We got real confusion on the Polar Bear side. They are not set. Jumbos missed an opportunity. They're still not set on the near side.
Berluti in on the shotgun. Another handoff here for Johnson. He's going to get through, gain about 2.
Yeah, and on that fourth down play, Andrew, I really like the decision. I think we saw in the first game against Trinity was Jumbos were pretty conservative in the first half, and it really cost them. And now you have a very unique set of circumstances in which Middlebury is not a high. Bowdoin is not a high-powered offense. Their strength is running. They are not a big passing team. And so, if you can get an early lead, it can really put them on their back foot. And they're not a team you're afraid of making a huge comeback. You want to get ahead of them real fast. So this is a great choice.
2nd and 9. Berluti keeps the ball, and he looks like he's going to take it himself on the run. He's still going and runs out of bounds, I believe, enough for that first down.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who he got around there. I think it was Liam Ford, the linebacker, that he was able to escape and get an extra few yards there. Great job by Berluti with the elusiveness.
And so the Jumbos have officially entered the red zone here on the 13-yard line. And they're running their rushing game a lot more than we might have been expecting here, Scott.
And I think this is a good game to do that, where you're against a team that you feel like you have the upper hand against offensively. So why don't you find your stride? Because rushing is going to be such a key part of this team going forward, especially when you can fall back on Berluti and the way he's been playing.
They'll go with the handoff again. And it looks like Johnson will get stopped pretty early on in his run.
Yeah, the Bears have been better over the last few plays about crowding the middle. You see less overcommitment on the outside, and they're doing a better job of putting a lot of pressure up the middle, closing up those holes faster. Nevertheless, I respect the Jumbos' commitment to the run, especially when, again, you have such a potent passing weapon. You might as well keep going with it. It opens up so many more opportunities, whether it be option, whether it be play action going forward.
Jackson Butler re-entering the game on the right side. You see Richardson and Lutz on the left. Berluti with a quick pass, and it gets broken up, and it down on the ground, and I think that Bowdoin might have picked it off. They're signaling for it, and they're celebrating over on the bench. not the way you want to start this opening drive after so much success in the early game.
I genuinely could not see who came up with that ball. I want to say it might have been number 45, Gordon Gosdek. No, I'm just kidding. I believe it was.
It was Axel Rommel, the defensive lineman, number 49, coming out from Sweden, not necessarily the biggest football town, and despite being up on the front line, was able to get a big hand on it and come away with an interception.
Yeah, I mean, that's not anyone's fault on the offense right there, but it's just a great defensive play. And we talked about how Bowdoin had a pretty strong offensive line. They've been getting some good pressure earlier in the season. I think they have 6 or 7 team sacks. That's jumbo what the Jumbos have. So another example of a very strong play by that line.
Bowdoin offense will be set up here. And a really deep pass to start things off, and nearly intercepted there by the safety there for the Jumbos, Jonathan O'Neill. As the first pass coming out from Andrew Bowl was not the most successful.
No, and a couple things there. One, it was not a well-thrown ball. I think he was also a step late. He could clearly see he underthrew that ball. The receiver had a step or two. I'm not sure why they're blowing this play dead. Maybe respotting it. But there was most definitely an underthrown ball. I think you could see there's no reason with the balls in the air that someone trailing in the middle of the field by that much should be able to catch up to it. Bull's got to do a better job there of getting the air time to lead his receiver rather than force his receiver to come back. And honestly, lucky that wasn't picked off. It was almost
a moment, as I believe it just never stopped running, so it will be reset to about 8:23. Bowl will take the snap, 2nd and 10. Exactly who was going to And this is where, Scott, Bowdoin really starts to struggle on these third downs.
Absolutely. Just over 30% on third down opportunities. Even worse last week, going, I believe, 15 for 19. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it against this Jumbos team. You got to be better on third down. Got to convert your opportunities.
Bowl will look to pass. It will be caught here by Eden, but it looks like he's short. Multiple Jumbos crowd around him, as it will be a quick 3-and-out here for the Bowdoin Polar Bears on the opening drive.
Yeah, it looks like Bowdoin correctly anticipated pressure. Bowl's eyes went immediately to the near side for that quick throw, but the Jumbos did a good job of crashing on that open receiver and minimizing the gain. I think they just gave him back to the line of scrimmage. It'll continue to be 4th and 5.
The punter, Andrew Roeder, has been very successful here for the Polar Bears so far this season, has had multiple 50-plus yard punts, and to receive it on the other end is Andre Smith.
Yeah, one benefit for the Bears, their average punt distance is going about 10 yards further than their opponents thus far this season.
Smith will pick it up. It will be a fair catch at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, a bit of a shorter punt there. The Jumbos will get great field position out of this. And now, again, it will be interesting to see where they go from here. It seemed to us like the rushing game had a great start. They slowed down a bit, however. It looked like the Bears made a really good on-field adjustment to stop overcommitting on the outside of the line and start putting a little more pressure to take away those inside rush plays, and they did a good job of it. It will be interesting to see what the Jumbos come out with. Of course, they started last possession with a pass and then ran a bunch of times after.
Berluti gets his second opportunity after the interception. Quick pass over to Tyler Johnson. He gets taken down quickly behind the line of scrimmage, I believe. Nice play again by Liam Ford.
Yeah, that's a good play. I think what happened there is Berluti needs to allow Johnson to get more of a running start. He was trying to go around him, and he almost got around the defender, but he was about a step too slow, didn't have enough momentum. Lead him. I think you need to lead Johnson a little more or allow Johnson to get a little further upfield. He'll have more momentum. He'll be able to escape to the sideline.
Ford now quickly with 4 tackles on the game, 3 of them in a solo fashion. Going to be a really key player here for the Bowdoin Polar Bears, getting that start at linebacker tonight. Berluti looks back, finds passer in the middle, and that is Jackson Butler picking up a very short gain.
Well, I think one thing the Bears have been doing consistently is rushing 4 or 5 people every play. And it goes back to what we talked about. Confuse Berluti. By that means, don't allow him to get into his set, go through all his progressions. He has to make a quick read, and he hasn't made necessarily a wrong one yet, but he's had to take the safe bet, and that's been not too far upfield. We've seen it last time with Johnson. We saw it this play, and so far 2 passes only yield you 1 yard. Bears will take that trade-off any day of the week.
Yeah, normally the trade-off for high completion rate is the shorter gains, and that's what we've seen so far on these first 2 passes of the drive.
Up till now, that hasn't been the case for Berluti. He's been averaging 15 yards per completion, which is pretty remarkable considering he's passing for over 80%.
One more chance here for Berluti to get that first down. Pass downfield is nearly caught there by Phil Lutz, but another 3 and out here this time for the Jumbos.
And what do we see again? More pressure. You actually ended up having a free runner at Berluti, but delayed by about a second. Good job by Berluti to stay in there and get that ball off. It wasn't a horrible throw. It's just a really tight window, and it was a good defensive play. Jumbos will punt, I assume. Yes, they will.
Patrick Walsh back to punt here for the Jumbos. Has had 9 punts, 3 of them landing inside the 20-yard line. Set back for the Bears is number 12, Austin Hisco.
Liam Ford with his 5th tackle now.
A short,
Very
high-up
short
punt here by Walsh. It is collected there by Hisco, and a fair catch at the 30.
Yeah, Jumbos will live with that. Again, I think what you're going to be seeing here is they are not going to be as afraid as they have with other teams thus far this season about giving the Bears the ball back. You know, the Bears have been almost exclusively rushed. Last week, you know, in that 20-10 Middlebury game that they fell to Middlebury, they rushed for 44 times for about 192 yards versus only 20 passes for far less than that. I believe about 150, 160 yards. So it's clearly in the DNA of this team. They want to play it slow. They want to rush the ball. They want to slowly bleed you. The Jumbos feel like they can live with that because they have such a high-powered offense that they can roll out, that they know can turn it on at any given point in the game.
Bull with a handoff quickly to Eden.
Ball's
Get a couple of yards here, as it does look like the ball is again let loose. That's a second fumble again for the Jumbos tonight, bringing their total for the season up to 12.
Well, I think the first one they ended up marking as down by contact, but even so, you're absolutely right. What really fundamentally matters is ball security. That's got to be really concerning for, again, a team that runs 2 out of every 3 plays, essentially, as they did last week. If you can't hang on to the ball, I don't want to be like Melvin Gordon and find yourself in the doghouse. Got to keep the ball close to the chest.
2nd and 7 here, as Bull will look to pass. Incomplete, intended for Jed Hoggard. A nice job again by the Jumbo secondary.
Yeah, Jumbos again. You know, when you go in an empty backfield like that, Jumbos, what do you do? Well, it's going to be a pass. I think there's a bit of a miscommunication there. It seemed like to me that Hoggard had set kind of almost in a curl form, that he was going to be stationary, whereas the throw was led him a bit upfield, and I think Hoggard is probably right there. The way the Jumbos were playing that, the throw should have been either to him or to the outside. That would have had a better opportunity with the Jumbos crashing inside out.
Hoggard with 236 receiving yards on the season is definitely the primary option here for the Bears. We'll see if they go to him again on 3rd and 7. Bull back to pass. This time a better opportunity has opened up, and Bowdoin gets control. Brendan King, the tight end, with a massive gain.
Well, the Jumbos made a risky choice, and they brought a lot of pressure that left one-on-one matchups across the field, and it was King there who got the step on the outside, a slightly underthrown ball, and a really impressive catch to fight through the defensive contact. I'm not sure if he got brushed against or whether it was grazed. The ball was grazed, but an unbelievable play by King there to push the Bears into Jumbo's territory.
Another big gain here for the Bears. 1st and 10, now in the Jumbo's 33-yard line. Another pass, this time for Bull, but he's taken down behind the line. Victor Garza coming up big on the tackle.
And, of course, we got to give Victor Garza his due. He may be the single reason, maybe besides Michael Berluti, that the Jumbos won last week. Down 14-7 with Williams about to kick a field goal at the end of the half. Michael Butler with a key block, and Victor Garza returned it 75 yards for a game-tying touchdown, and he made the tackle on the last play of the game. That was a great read by them, by Garza there. He followed Bull's eyes all the way. Bull kind of telegraphed that pass. And it was for no, and I believe they even gave him a loss of 1 yard there.
Again, another pass for Bull, and it just out of the reach. This time again, I think intended for Hoggard. double coverage there on the wide receiver for the Polar Bears.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those throws where either no one's going to get it or Hoggard's going to make an incredible play. You saw it right there. He threw it right toward the sideline. Would have taken a pretty miraculous catch there. And you're right, the double coverage definitely got to him because I don't think Hoggard felt comfortable kind of streaking up the field knowing that there was someone trailing him on either side.
See Colton Fahey over on the right side, as well as Hisco, who has entered here as a wide receiver. 3rd and 11. Bowl is taken down. The ball is loose, and the Jumbos will collect it. A massive hit by the front line as the ball again gets picked up. Either way, the Jumbos will get it either by the recovery of the fumble or a big 4th and long here for the Bears.
Yeah, Jumbos have it.
Javier Rios collecting that fumble for a massive play to get the Jumbos back within enemy territory on another 1st down.
What a play right there. Jumbos bring pressure. And I just don't think that Bowl ever saw it because he kind of stood in there and made his normal throwing motion. I'm not sure who made the first contact. It felt like basically everyone for the Jumbos was there. But, I mean, it just went straight backwards, and the Jumbos will take that with great field position.
Still scoreless here in the 1st quarter, but things certainly seem to be looking up for the Tufts Jumbos. This time Smith actually takes the snap and goes up, and will get stopped around the line of scrimmage.
Well, a very good adjustment really quickly by the Bears. I probably just as well as we did expecting, Michael Berluti to come out slinging. Instead, we've seen a very slow, methodical pace by the Jumbos trying to run the ball. Bears gave up a few big plays, but since then they've done an unbelievable job of crowding the inside lane and preventing the Jumbos from really getting anywhere into the second layer.
Andre Smith still remains out there in that running back slot for Tufts. Tyler Johnson maybe either getting a breather for a couple of plays, not entirely sure what's happening there. But Berluti will look to pass this time around. Looks deep over the right side. Jaden Richardson has some room and just out of his reach.
Well, you can see Jaden Richardson's speed right there. And we should give credit to Jaden Richardson for an unbelievable game last week. 10 receptions, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's the Jumbos' leading receiver as far as touchdowns with 4 in the season. And he was just I think Berluti, and they were just a step off. You can see right there is a great defensive play to break up that pass. I think if Jaden had one more step, maybe another yard, he can probably make that play clean.
Instead, it is a 3rd and long here for Michael Berluti. Richardson now over onto the left side. Run 4 wide receivers out, and he is sacked. Starting.
Yeah, and Andrew, what have we talked about throughout this game? Confuse Michael Berluti, and I think by extension confuse the offensive line. It was a 5-man rush, but it was a delayed rush with a couple zigzags in between, and I don't think the offensive line was able to pick it up. You essentially had a free runner after about a second. No chance for Michael Berluti, especially the way that the Bears secondary is playing. They forced him, I believe now, he's under 50% of the day, 4 for 9, including that 1 pick. So he's definitely out of his comfort zone right now. The Bears have done exactly what they've needed to do so far.
That was Max Jacobs there on the big, big loss for Berluti and the Jumbos as Walsh will go back to punt. Fair catch is called. And it does look like Hisco will just get it around the 20-yard line. Again, the defense here for Bowdoin is what we were looking at the start of this game. And though Tufts
have turning programs that are struggling around. His last stint at Allegheny College, they were 1-29 in the 3 years before he got out there, and he finished there 6-4 in his last season. Add on the fact that Kyle McAllister, a former Tufts defensive line assistant, is actually now their defensive coordinator. This is a very defense-oriented staff, and it shows in the way they play.
Bull looks to pass, intended for Hoggard, but it is broken up with a flag being thrown.
And no, the Tufts faithful is not going to like it. I think it is a good call. He did get one hand on the ball, but the other hand, and maybe he wouldn't have caught it either way, but the free hand on his right hand definitely reached over, I believe, and made contact. We'll see what they call, whether it's pass interference or illegal contact. I imagine pass interference.
And it was Victor Garza on the PI for the Jumbos.
Again, it's a bit ticky-tack, but he does, he uses kind of his free arm to wrap the defender and get leverage to jump in front of him. not always called, but he is, by definition, getting there and making contact before the ball has arrived. It's kind of, each ref has their own judgment on it, but I see where this flag came from, even if it is a bit ticky-tack.
And it's a big gain here for Bowdoin, all the way up to their own 34. Bull looks for the handoff. Eden gets stopped at around the line of scrimmage.
As one thing we talked about in the open about, Jumbos need to, play a clean game that primarily we said starts on special teams. It also starts with penalty yards. They are averaging 81 yards against them in penalties. Bowdoin, on the other hand, is only averaging about 45. So that is a pretty big difference. You got to play a clean game. You can't, especially when you're going up against a scrappy team like this, can't give them any free opportunities, because you should feel like if you can play a clean game, you can win. If you don't play a clean game, all of a sudden anything can happen.
Second and 8. Another handoff here for Eden. Gets a couple more yards than he did on that last play, but still a pretty decent amount of work to do on that third down.
Yeah, the Jumbos, just like the Bears on the other side, are doing a great job taking away the inside lanes. That's where most of Eden's rushes have gone so far, and he really hasn't been able to penetrate the second layer. Part of the reason is because that second layer is really pushing in and, getting him as soon as he even breaks the line of scrimmage. I think if I was the Bears, I'd consider some play action. I feel like the Jumbos have been pinching a bit, and that's why they've been able to stop the rush. They might have an opportunity there, maybe not on third down, but in future plays, play action I think could really help the Bears here.
Bull likely looking to pass with the play action, as you said, looking down the middle, and it looks like the pass that was intended for Colton Fahey is incomplete. Another Bowdoin fourth down.
I said in future plays because on 3rd and 6, I don't think play action is necessarily a good idea there, especially how did last possession end? Well, the Jumbos got pressure on a third down and forced a fumble. Why? I don't understand necessarily why you take that extra second to run a play action on a pretty obvious passing down. Nevertheless, it almost worked. I mean, it was pretty solid coverage back there, but it was a well-thrown ball that definitely could have been caught, but we'll see yet another punt in this game. Oh, good pressure there.
Broder with a nice punt up there. Smith going to recover it. Another fair catch on the punt return. Got one play to go before the end of the first quarter as Berluti and the rest of the Jumbos will regain control.
And as it seems like this game will head into the end of the first quarter, scoreless, of course, on many people's minds was probably Thursday night football with a very low-scoring affair. And a fun fact for you is, of course, that Coach Savetti for Tufts briefly was the interim offensive coordinator for NC State and coached Russell Wilson when they beat UNC. Russell Wilson hasn't had such a great start. All of his success has really passed on to Michael Berluti through Coach Savetti, it seems.
Play action here. Richardson with a jumping catch right past the 50-yard line as Michael Berluti gets another big gain for a first down.
We'll see if they try to run another play. They're rushing up. I don't think they're going to get it off. And that's a great way to end the first quarter with a nice pass play. And that's a really well-thrown ball by Michael Berluti. It's always a bit of a risky play because you saw the second defender. I'm not sure who that was. It was one of the safeties, whether it be Habener or Price, was coming up and was about to really lay the boom on Richardson. But Richardson, it was actually a very well-timed ball by Berluti because if he throws it a second later, Richardson frankly gets clocked right there, right? Not only do you worry about his health, but the ball is probably going to get dislodged too. But by throwing it a second earlier, you give Richardson an opportunity to catch the ball and brace, which is what he did there. He comes up fine. The Jumbos convert, and we'll head into the second with the Jumbos driving.
Some good momentum set up here for the Tufts Jumbos. Despite, not scoring on any of their plays. It's been a scoreless first quarter, but an exciting one nonetheless. Got a couple of fumble recoveries and interception. But as we head into the second, we have a quick presentation on the field as the Learfield's Directors Cup is going to be presented here for the Tufts Jumbos, the best athletics conference here in athletics program in Division 3 last year.
The Directors Cup is a program that honors institutions maintaining a broad-based program, achieving success in
Jumbos were honored earlier this summer at Fenway Park, and now a very successful couple of years here for the Jumbos, and a very well-deserved reward.
Absolutely, and what better way to do it? Like you said, first night game under the lights with permanent lights, I think ever. Of course, we had the temporary lights installed before today, so it's a real, well-timed event. The Jumbos, both, as far as facilities-wise and skill-wise, have really taken a step up in recent years, as many of our JumboCast viewers know. And that success shows no signs of ending anytime soon.
The Directors' Cup, of course, the account of the general success of the programs that Tufts has over the year. They finished with 1,080 total points in scoring across 16 sports. 13 of their teams finished top 10 in the rankings there. And on the field is Daryl Jasper, the Vice President of Multimedia Rights for the East Region of Learfield, and Charlie Titus, former UMass Boston Vice Chancellor of Athletics and NACDA Hall of Famer, presenting the Learfield Directors' Cup to John Morris, Tony Monaco, and the rest of the Jumbos community.
Vice President of Multimedia Rights, East Region for Learfield, and Charlie Titus, former UMass Boston Vice Chancellor of Athletics.
Electric crowd here as well to celebrate a very successful Tufts season, and of course the first homecoming night game that we've had in a very, very long time.
Yeah, Andrew, I know you weren't around for the last year before COVID, homecoming 2019, and that was a great game. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't under the lights, and of course not having one in 2020, not having one in 2021 either. But now with the lights, everyone's kind of feeling a little bit more sense of freedom. Jumbos are playing very good football. The atmosphere is really, really great right here. I mean, these are by far the crowd, the most crowds I've seen in my time here. It's just a really great environment. Obviously, you hope that the Jumbos are able to replicate that. We've got a couple more home games coming up in the not-too-distant future. Now, as we look ahead into the second quarter, one thing that's really, really working in the Jumbos' favor is the way they've stopped Bowdoin's rushing attack.
Things have been going well for them on both sides here. Of course, the rush for Bowdoin has been very important, but the pass for the offense for the Jumbos as well, with a very, very stellar offensive line, of course, led by Captain Nick Swift, Blair Horning here at the center spot. And Berluti will be set back to start off the second quarter. Quick pass. Richardson gets another shot, about a gain of 4.
And, on the offensive line note, Andrew, Bob McCarthy, one of Tufts' O-line assistants, the former police officer for TUPD, he actually holds the gold medal and the Massachusetts record for bench press, gold medal from the World Police and Fire Games. And the gold medal, record for Massachusetts in his age group in the bench press. So, yeah, I can promise you they're teaching strength on that field right there, and it's showing so far.
Seems like he's a good one to teach strength.
Yeah, fair. Can say that again.
5 yards to go to first down. Berluti set back. Another pass to Richardson, and he finds an opening right through one tackler, through another, to the end zone. He goes, just stops short. But a massive gain there for Jaden Richardson, picking up a huge first and goal for
Jaden Richardson is picking up exactly where he left off last week. A great route up the middle. He recognizes that because the Bears rush extra men, that they had a lot of space up the middle. Great cut and a great run downfield, and the Jumbos will go hurry up.
Berluti's going to take it himself into the end zone. Touchdown, Jumbos!
I don't know about you, Andrew, but I don't know. I hope you guys can see on the broadcast, but they're really pulling out all the stops. Probably reminds you of your home at Yankee Stadium, where they do the exact same thing on an Aaron Judge moonshot. But it looks like Jumbo's going to go their classic, rush in and set up for, I believe, an extra point.
Von Seelig, the kicker, is 10 for 11 on the PAT attempts, looking to give the Jumbos that 7-point lead. And it's good. So, no scoring in the first quarter, Scott, but the second quarter starting off with very, very exciting plays. 2 massive passes to Jaden Richardson on that previous drive, and gives the Jumbos a 1-score lead.
And it really felt like coming into this game that this is exactly how it would go, that both teams would start a little slow, try to find their footing because they're both pretty stout defensively. But, the Jumbos just have so much firepower right now. The way they're playing, the way Michael Berluti is playing, the way they're able to roll out that dual threat of Richardson and Lutz. And, so far, Lutz hasn't, especially after that first possession, he hasn't had to do too much. Right? It's been largely Richardson catching those balls out there. He's picking off where he left off. And it just felt inevitable that eventually the Jumbos would have to break through. They just have too much firepower not to, and you saw it exactly right there.
Pat Walsh to kick off for the Jumbos.
Patrick Walsh set back to kick off. The primary kick returner here for the Polar Bears is Slade Postemski, has had 8 kick returns for a total of about 170 yards. And Postemski likes to run here on these returns, and he's going to go. And he gets a very good distance here, and he stopped at around the 35.
Well, good run back right there. Big for the Bowdoin Bears. Again, when you have a team that's struggling to put together plays, the less yards they have to go to the end zone, the better. It's exactly what happened right there. Now it's about how does Bowdoin respond. Again, they have not had, besides that first game, against a Hamilton team that's usually towards the bottom of the standings. They haven't had too much offensive success, not being able to get above 10 points over the last 2 weeks. Now they have to come out trailing the Jumbos, with a raucous crowd, momentum on the Jumbo side. It really does feel like, they got to start generating something soon, even if it's not points. At the very least, show they can move the ball, kind of give themselves some hope.
Polar Bears, of course, falling in their previous 2 matchups, but have played very, very admirably even in those losses. Again, to the current NESCAC leading and defending champion Middlebury Panthers were in control for most of that game. Actually scored them on in terms of yardage at least, but just weren't able to come away with the win.
Right, and oh wow, really delayed call right here, but we have a holding call. Yeah, we have a. Did they say re-kick?
It was on the Bowdoin side, which means that the Jumbos, I believe, will just get that re-kick.
I think that's what they said. Interesting.
It must have been a hold on the receive, which is why they're going to redo it to make sure that a fair chance is actually given to the Tufts defense.
Might have been one of the later penalty calls I've seen recently. But yeah, to go back to your point on that Middlebury game, what really held the Bears back was their, clutch time efficiency. Right about 25% on third down, 1 for 5 on opportunities in the red zone. That's not going to cut it. It's simply not. Against really good teams like Middlebury, and of course the Jumbos hope they can fit into that category this year, you have to convert. You cannot go 20% in the red zone. And of course, first you have to get there, but once you're there, you have to come away with points.
So now with 10 yards gained on the kickoff, Walsh in a pretty good spot to try and either squib this over, and it does look like the Polar Bears will collect it, but a much shorter gain than was on the last attempt.
Interesting choice right there. That ball was really, really close to the sideline there. I wonder if he could have let that roll and hoped it rolled out of bounds. Just the way it was being kicked, it was coming from far side to the sideline. Felt like the bounce would carry it out of bounds, but that might just be me. We don't have the angle up here, but yeah, the Jumbos will probably gain about 6-7 yards on that, so they'll take that any day of the week.
And out comes Andrew Bowl once again with the rest of the Bowdoin offense. Bowl 3 for 7 so far for 34 passing yards. He looks set back to pass, and it is caught at the 50-yard line. Slade Postemski getting Colton Fahey getting a couple of really big catches here at the start of this game.
Yeah, coming into this game only had 5 catches for 43 yards. And interestingly, one thing I've noticed about Bull is he knows exactly where he wants to go. He's not really going through too many reads. He stared down this side of the field the entire time. It was just a really good route. And, hug the sideline there, making a really tough play for the Jumbos to bring extra help. So if you beat your primary defender, even if you have a second one shadowing, if you're that close to the sideline, it might not matter.
Bull on the handoff this time. Eden is taken down for about a gain of 3.
EJ Collins put on the stop for the Jumbo.
E.J. Comerford getting that tackle down, number 36. 18 tackles now on the season for the junior.
That was a really good form tackle right there. Met him at the point of contact and just brought him down square. You know, a lot of tackles. Some tackles, especially when you get, you know, downfield, you know, even a good tackle can allow the runner to get 2 or 3 extra yards, but he just sends him right down at that spot. It's a really impressive form tackle.
Bull again, look back to pass, but maybe
Should
finds
run.
a pocket to try
He
and
should
run
run.
instead.
I
Will
don't-
fire all the way downfield. And it is barely broken up there. Almost looked like it was going to be caught again by, I believe that's Fahey all the way back there.
I mean, you know, there's a reason I'm not a quarterback because, you know, it seemed like to me he had a lot of opportunity there to get 5-6 yards. And I still might have gone for that, given it was 2nd and 7. Your offense has struggled to get first downs. But nevertheless, I think it was a good read. At the very least, if you decide to pass, you made the right choice there. And maybe if he leads the receiver just by another step or two, he'll be able to get a little more separation. But, you know, not a bad throw by any means. I think, depending on the outcome of this play, you might just wish that you had taken those free yards, maybe giving yourself a 3rd and short.
Ace Cream, the intended receiver there, plays some offense and defense and was incomplete on that pass. 3rd and 7 here now for Bull. We'll look for the short opportunity over to King and just doesn't get a handle of it.
Yeah, you got to have that. I mean, I'm not sure he'd be able to make it to the line to gain. But at the very least, he was probably going to get 4 or 5 yards out of that, maybe set up a 4th down that you could try and go for on your opponent's 40 or so. You want to see that caught. Wasn't the best throw. I think I believe King was stumbling a bit. Nevertheless, you'd see that converted. Now it is all about field position. You know, this is a very, very short kick, kicking from your opponent's 42. So they'll test him here. Can he down them close to the 10?
Roeder has done this in the past.
Good
Smith
kick.
looking back to try and pick it up, and really nice pickup. Really nice catch, maintaining him right around, you know, about that 5-yard line or so.
Andre Smith with the fair catch for the Jumbos.
So the Jumbos will regain possession. Will have to be a very long drive to result in a score, but definitely been capable of that. Putting up big yardage, of course, in their past 3 games. Try to pick up their 2nd touchdown. Phil Lutz hasn't really gotten too many catches so far in this game. Scott has really relied on Richardson so far. Run up the middle for Tyler Johnson to stop the line of scrimmage.
Mike Randall with the stop for Bowdoin. It's a gain of 1. It'll be 2nd and 9 for the Jumbos.
Jumbos making a couple personnel substitutions out, bring out some bigger bodies, and subbing in a couple more receivers. Feels like this is setting up to be at least present like a pass play.
Cade Moore and Jaden Richardson over on the left side in terms of wide receivers.
Linebackers for the Bears playing pretty close to the line, a lot of space downfield. I think they're hoping that the Jumbos won't take that risk, given how close they are to the end zone.
A quick rush up by Jacobs, but right down the middle, and it is a pass completed. I believe that is Phil Lutz on the reception.
Yeah, exactly like I was saying. You see the linebackers are pressing pretty close to the line of scrimmage there, and when that happens, that's going to open up the middle part of the field. I think the linebackers were hoping they'd be able to generate enough pressure to avoid anything like that. Unfortunately for the Bears, Berluti just saw it well before they were able to get any serious pressure on him.
That does result in a 1st down here for the Jumbos. Berluti looks to pass. And it is caught here by Jackson Butler, taken down for about a gain of 5.
There you go. Jumbo settling into a rhythm a bit here, getting the ball out fast. You know, they haven't had too much luck yet besides the Jaden Richardson pass, throwing the ball downfield. So instead, look short. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, piece by piece, it's a good start, especially when you're pressed so far back into your own territory.
2nd and 4 for the Jumbos at their own 26-yard line. Berluti looks to pass, finds Tyler Johnson, who tries to go for the spin but ends up getting taken down for third down.
Yeah, Berluti really just tried to get that out really fast, but I did not catch the number of who made that initial read, but it was a really good read on the near side to pick that up. Berluti looked this way, and both receivers had backs pressing down on them, and ultimately a very good play.
So an incomplete pass there. 3rd and 4 now for Michael Berluti and the Tufts Jumbos.
Jumbo's expecting pressure.
It looks like they are going to look to pass once more. The pass for Cade Moore is completed. He comes down the sidelines looking to stop him is Jacobs, and he'll push him in at the opposing 25. Big pickup for Cade Moore.
Outstanding job by Mike Berluti. What has he done this entire game? He's attacked this side of the field. He's seen an opportunity. The pass to Jaden Richardson was on that same sideline with a little further inside, but on the same type of coverage. Berluti's done a great job exploiting a weakness in the Bears' defense, and it's going to bring them again right into the red zone. 54 yards on that play.
Now Berluti, the play action, going to
Oh
take the ball up himself on the scramble, finds a pocket, and gets stopped right at the end zone. Going to be a tough call.
Well, that is just the unbelievable skill of Michael Berluti. Did you see some of the moves he made on some of those linebackers right now? That wasn't a defensive lineman. Those were linebackers that he just basically crossed out of their shoes to get an extra 12 yards on that play. What a run.
Stopped right at the 1-yard line. You can almost feel like the touchdown is inevitable. Berluti passes it right back into Johnson, and that is another touchdown for the Tufts Jumbos.
And Tyler Johnson, that's a much-needed touchdown for him coming off a really rough week last week, a season where he hasn't had the same success we expected from him, but he's played an integral part of this offensive attack so far. And the Jumbos, just like that, take a 13-0 lead pending the extra point. Both touchdowns coming in a matter of 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, very, very quick turnaround right when the second quarter began. It's been all Tufts Jumbos, all Michael Berluti and the like, whether on the pass or on the run. Walsh set back for the extra point, and it goes through the uprights. Michael Berluti, Scott, has had an incredible season. As we take a look at some of the stats that we had from last week, just an incredible showing, and he's continuing to show it here again today.
Absolutely, passing 28 for 33. Quick math out there, that's above 80%, which is pretty remarkable at that volume. He had 402 yards. He had four passing touchdowns that counted for all the offensive output, with the other touchdown being a blocked field goal, and at least one peanut butter and jelly was consumed, as we've heard a little rumor that it is his preferred pregame snack.
Yeah, and Phil Lutz seemed to have known that answer. Make sure to check out our Instagram at Tufts JumboCast so we can, where an episode of Know Your Jumbo was released between Michael Berluti and some of his players. Get to know a little bit more about our Tufts quarterback, and also about how well some of his teammates know him.
Yeah, one of the questions was, where would you like to vacation? And after the way he's playing, I think his team should crowdfund and get him out to wherever that may be, because he deserves a vacation. He's been playing unbelievable this season.
Walsh serving as that kicker again here, looking to kick things back up over to Bowdoin for another chance at a possession.
I believe they signal for a fair catch there. Yep. We'll get the ball as if it was a touchback.
Eli DeHerte on the fair catch. Of course, Slade Postemski, Derrett, Eli, of course, with Postemski all the way back, didn't get the right angle to that ball, so allowed for some other members of the Polar Bears to get that opportunity on the fair catch. So Bull gets another opportunity with his offensive squad to try to make some progress happen.
Yeah, Eden so far today only with 15 rushing yards. Actually, the way the stats are entered right now, they're charging Bull with negative 21 yards. I'm guessing that's from the fumble. Nevertheless, if you look at it, that's net negative so far on the rushing game.
It was a quick handoff off to King, and the Jumbos didn't see it coming. Right into around that first down marker goes Brendan King.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I was looking towards the near sideline where it seems like Bull's favorite targets have started to set up. and all of a sudden it's a rush on the far sideline. Good play. Good drive tone setter right there. Again, that's exactly what they need. It'll be second and 1. Apologies, the scoreboard had 1st and 10, but it is 2nd and 1.
Bowl is set back. We'll go for the handoff right over to Eden, and I believe he got enough for that first down.
They'll give him 2 on that. Plenty for the first down. Bowdoin, of course, not very strong so far offensively. With that will only be, I believe, their 4th first down the entire game. The Jumbos have 13 by comparison, and yes, that'll be their 4th first down. Also, only 7 rush attempts so far. They've really tried to pass the ball a bit more. Surprises me a bit because so far teams have rushed the ball almost 50% more than they've passed against the Jumbos. They've seen something. They felt like the Jumbos have been exploitable on the ground.
They're going to keep it going here with Eden with another rush attempt. This is kind of how Bowdoin has traditionally played throughout the season. Allow for Eden to get these short runs on the ground and hope that eventually one of them will break through.
Absolutely. Despite being 1-2 on the season, usually that's associated, quick offensive possessions, longer defensive possessions. Bowdoin's actually had the better of the pace of play. They've controlled, on average, 33 minutes a game, time of possession. The Jumbos, on the other hand, despite their high-powered offense and probably as a byproduct of it, only 27 minutes. It's exactly what Bowdoin likes to do. They're gonna roll out some longer drives.
Set back to pass. This time is complete over to the tight end here for the Bowdoin Polar Bears. That was Willem Federico on the catch.
It's a solid play design right there. What you do is you force out the corner on the near side for the Jumbos with one of the receivers, pulls him with it, opens up the space to exploit to the sideline. It's never going to yield you a lot of yards, but it's always going to be pretty consistent, 5 or 6 or 7 yards. It's exactly what the Bears get. 3rd and 1, you can see the Jumbo sideline really trying to get in the Bears' head right there.
Jumbo switch up their defense. They're looking to pressure down the middle. Eden will be right at the site of that first down. Not entirely sure if that will be over for that first down, but it looks like they are shifting the markers.
Yeah, but it's a great job by Eden. He felt the initial contact, and immediately what he did is he extended the ball to get that forward progress. He ended up clearing it by about a yard, but it's a great recognition knowing that every centimeter was going to count there, and his hard work is well deserved with a first down.
Full setback once again. Looks to pass. It is intended for Fahey, and it is incomplete. A nice breakup again by Victor Garza, who had that one-on-one coverage and won the battle.
That's been a connection we've seen Bowl go to a lot, and it was actually a very well-thrown ball, but it was just great coverage by Garza. That's the only place Bowl could throw it, and it was going to take a great one-handed catch there. Garza really taking away pretty much every other window, and it almost happened there. He got a good solid hand on it, did Fahey, but another second down for the Bears.
Eden will get it, and it's stopped below, and it's going to be a tackle for a loss.
Yeah, the handoff was a bit slow there between Bowl and Eden. It seemed like they took it. There was an extra hitch there, and the Jumbos happened, whether knowingly or unknowingly, brought a lot of pressure there. No chance, and this is exactly where the Bears really don't want to find themselves in an obvious passing down with a lot of yards to get, and the Jumbos are ready for it.
You have to expect a pass to come through here by Bowl. Of course, Postemski has been a primary target. You also have to keep your eyes, of course, on the side of King, as well as Jed Hoggard. Looking over to the right side, King finds it again, broken up by the Tufts defense.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot today. The way, just the type of routes that have been run, it's felt like Andrew Bowles always been trying to lead his receivers down the field, and he's, it feels like they're always half a step behind. The space is just not there.
And of course, a 4th down here for the Polar Bears.
On the coverage for the Jumbos. It'll be 4th down for Bowdoin.
Smith set back to receive the punt. And again, very quickly, Scott, the possession is going back into Jumbo's side.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of a lofty snap there.
Smith going to call off that for a fair catch.
That was a risky catch. You never want to catch a punt above your head because you're not able to bring it into your chest. You're relying entirely on your hands there. And with a wobbly ball like that, anything can happen. The Jumbos will escape. And they'll roll the offense back out, which has really clicked in the second quarter, hasn't it, Andrew?
Oh, it definitely has. And even though none of Berluti's passes have resulted in a touchdown, both have gotten them right into the red zone for that opportunity that they really wanted, whether it was the initial 2 receptions for Richardson or, of course, Cade Moore on that massive 50-plus yard pass. Berluti's offense really is working here across multiple targets as well. Jumbos will stack the left side, and we'll hand it off here for Tyler Johnson. Finally finding an opening, and off to the races. Is tripped up and will go down around the 45.
There we go. We have been waiting for Tyler Johnson to really rip one off to get into the second and third layer of the defense, and he just did. He'll add on to his 42 yards total there with probably at least 20 more. See what the updated stat is. 25 on that, so it'll be 67 rushing yards so far for Tyler Johnson. More than doubles his entire total from last week. And we're going to have a timeout. Bowdoin, honestly, very interesting time to call a timeout.
Very, very nice stuff coming out here for the Tufts Jumbos. As a timeout has been called. Now, of course, Tufts is one of over 100 schools across the country that is currently participating in the 3rd annual College Football Mental Health Week by playing in the support of the Helsinki's Hope Foundation, founded by Mark and Kim Hilinski to honor the legacy of their son Tyler. H3H honors Tyler, those lost and those suffering. Jumbo sophomore wide receiver John Hilinski is a nephew of Mark and Kim, and the Jumbos are showcasing a lime green ribbon on their helmets with a 3 in the middle to support Tyler Hilinski and remember those lost and those suffering in silence. The team is also encouraging fans to participate by showing solidarity, eliminating stigma around mental health by holding 3 fingers in the sky during the first play of the 3rd quarter. When the time comes, a lot of the fans will join the Jumbos in this gesture as a sign that mental health matters to all of us. Another really nice gesture that the Jumbos are doing here on homecoming weekend.
And this comes on the penultimate day of Mental Health Week on Tufts University. It's been a university-wide effort to bring more awareness, and it's good to see the Jumbos on the field stepping in up and doing the exact same. We hope everyone here and at home participates in that gesture at the beginning of the 3rd quarter.
Now the Jumbos will get their ball back. Was that first down off the run from Tyler Johnson at the 45. Berluti step back to snap, play action over to Lutz, who will have an open lane to run across the sideline. Will pick up the first down and then some.
Jumbos are going to get away with I think we had a couple linemen too far down the field. Many people listening might know this is my least favorite rule of all time, ineligible man downfield. At the very least, I think the Jumbos got away with it. It looked to me that at least one lineman might have been the left guard was at least 3 yards downfield. Nevertheless, big connection there to Phil Lutz. Jumbos were once again on the edge of the red zone. Oh, there we go again.
Johnson again finding a pocket, and will be another quick first down.
Tyler Johnson just looks much better than he has in previous weeks. He's getting a lot of running room. I mean, and credit again where credit is due. It starts with the offensive line, but he has a lot of room to work with. And when he has a lot of room to work with, he's really best in the open field, making men miss.
Butler on the right side, the other 3 wide receivers on Berluti's left. The play action is called, and there goes Lutz into the end zone. And I believe another touchdown is here.
What an impressive throw by Michael Berluti. I mean, he's fading away. He's throwing across his body. He's about to get hit, and he throws a strike to Phil Lutz. And, of course, Phil Lutz, makes a great move around the initial defender, runs straight into the end zone. Really just, overall, what an impressive play all around on that offense. You could just see the connection between Lutz and Berluti. It's really something to admire, and it's carried this team. And good for Phil Lutz to get into the end zone. I believe that's his now 4th touchdown on the season.
Now a 3-score lead here for the Jumbos, and pending the extra point, sailing through the uprights here for Walsh. 21-0 for Tufts on homecoming weekend.
Yeah, so much, at least so far, for what we expected to be, a more of a, grinded out, closer contest than what we've seen in the past. I think it really comes down to just the way Michael Berluti and this offense is humming. It's not, we saw it in the first quarter that it felt like Bowdoin was really clamping down on the Jumbo's offense, and then the in-game adjustments that Michael Berluti, the entire coaching staff, and especially his receivers to get separation. The adjustments they've made have been really, really impressive. It's just been a completely different team that's come out since the start of the second quarter.
Yeah, again, all three scores coming in just over 10 minutes of play time here in the second. So things looking very, very good here for the Jumbos. And for Bowdoin, this is a deficit that they haven't really had to overcome so far in any of their victories.
At Walsh to kick off for the Jumbos.
Kick off, and another fair catch will get the ball at the 25.
And, if Bowdoin is looking for a recipe to come back from a lead like this, they really don't need to look any further than this field and this team because, again, the Jumbos were down 26-3 at half against Trinity in Game 1, and they ended up losing 26-23 with a couple opportunities to take the lead or at least tie the game in crunch time. So no one's saying it can't be done, and frankly, the Jumbos looked every bit as, far behind as the Bears did in that game, and they really turned it on in the second half. So by all means, hope is not lost for the Bears yet, but you need to make some positive strides here. At very least, show you can move the ball because they really haven't done so far.
And each of the three games that Bowdoin has played so far have started off rather good, and then maybe towards the end against some of their losses, not necessarily falling into their favor. So the second half doesn't seem to be where the Bears like to thrive, and going to have to be a bit of a change in pace if they want to turn this game around.
Absolutely, and the 18 yards total for Andre Eden is not going to cut it. They need to find a way to get him active on the ground so it can open up the passing lane. They're not as dynamic as the Jumbos are offensively. They need to play through their rush game to open up opportunities through the air.
Bull seems to have fumbled the snap a little bit, and an immense takedown.
Ball is on the ground.
Of the pass.
They're going to call it incomplete. And yeah, it didn't. Hard to tell from our vantage point, but based on the lack of reaction by the Jumbos, it was pretty. I anticipate it was pretty obvious he never had control. That's an important thing right there because it was actually a really good design play call by Bowdoin because the Jumbos brought a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But it's even better recognition by the guys on the field on the defense to snuff out that screen and put a couple guys there and put pressure on the lead blocker and get around him.
Second and 10. Bull with the handoff over to Eden. Not going to get much as two Jumbos surround him and take him down. Edward Ayuteri playing a massive factor there. Shane Reiner, the middle linebacker here for the Jumbos, also contributing to that tackle. A third and long opportunity here for Bowdoin.
Be interested to see if the Jumbos bring any pressure here, fully knowing that it's a pass. They drop back instead.
Bull has some room to run in an open lane. Will look to pass and not really a good target there. Pass was intended for Austin Hisco and it just sails wide, a fourth down.
Yeah, he had Hisco there. It's a tough play. He's on the run. He's throwing it somewhat across his body, but if you're not going to run there, if you're not going to put your body on the line, which I think was the right call, he wasn't going to get the first down. You got to try to execute that pass. At the very least, get it off the ground. Because you don't give your receiver an opportunity when you bounce it 2 feet in front of him.
Roeder back to punt once again. That's a 25, so pretty decent field position will be set up by Smith off of this punt.
Oh, wow.
And he's going to let it go. A really nice punt coming out from Roeder, and it allows for it to sail inside the 15-yard line for Bowdoin.
That hasn't really been a problem for the Jumbos. I believe their second touchdown came off when they started at a very similar position. And again, we talked about pregame how Bowdoin really has the punting advantage, at least compared to the teams he played. Not so far up until that punt. They'd only been averaging 33 and change on their punts in terms of yards, which isn't anything over the top, but that was an outstanding punt right there. That brings up the average 8 yards alone just by that punt alone.
And Smith wasn't in the right position for it. They weren't anticipating that much power to come out from Roeder.
Andrew, that was 61 yards. That'll make it his third 50-plus yard punt. I believe that's his first 60-yarder on the season, I should say. Of course, on the day as well.
And a penalty has been called at around the 45-yard line. I believe it'll stay.
I think
Jumbo's
I don't know what
territory.
did you catch that, Andrew? But I think they're giving it to. I think the Bears are getting the ball back.
Yeah, the defense is coming out. There's Michael
Yeah.
Butler in on the front. Don't know exactly what happened. Must have. Just
I
been a
heard
penalty
leaving
on
the
Jumbo's
field,
side.
so it must have been during the game. I mean, it could not be a dead ball foul. If they're returning the ball back, then it had to be during live game action. If it was after the play concluded, it wouldn't count for possession.
So a lucky break here for the Bowdoin Polar Bears as Andrew Bull will get another opportunity behind the snap. Looking to pass over to Fahey at a good opportunity, and he gets it. A big reception, and he's taken down around the 23.
I think the Jumbos need to make an adjustment. That's at least the fourth time we've seen that exact play get run, and 2 or 3 of the times it's succeeded. And it seems like that second defensive back is always a step behind for the Jumbos. That's unfortunate because that's a play that Bull is basically telegraphing. He's very much making eye contact with Fahey down there, and I'm still not sure I like the setup down here with pressing Fahey. Yeah, they're doing it again.
Yeah, another opportunity here for Colton
Wow,
Fahey.
what a catch.
He picks it up after
And
a
they're gonna
bit of
get
a
PI.
bobble. A flag is thrown, so I don't believe it matters either way
No,
if
it
that pass is
doesn't.
complete.
But I think he's actually going to get 2 more yards because it's PI is a spot foul, and that once he actually came down with the ball 2 yards further down the field. And again, I don't know if I understand the defense there. He's been running that exact route every single time, so I don't understand why we're necessarily pressing him at the line of scrimmage without any safety help at least 10 yards down the field. It felt like it was leaving it open. Now, don't get me wrong, that was a really impressive pass and a far more impressive catch, but I think you're opening yourself up there to that opportunity. The Jumbos definitely need to clamp down on that. Don't let them get back into it. We'll see the penalty decline as the Bears will take the 2 extra yards.
PI called on Jonathan O'Neill. The Jumbos, in terms of penalties, have given up 243 yards of it in coming into this game, so not necessarily their strong suit. And again, showing a bit of punishment here. Now, Bull back at the snap here, really close to the end zone. They're going to give it off to Eden, and he's going to hammer it home into the end zone. A touchdown for the Bowdoin Polar Bears.
Well, that is well timed for the Bowdoin Polar Bears. I mean, that's really, really key, right? Because, again, we talked about how their offensive identity is grind it out, run the ball, small chunks here and small chunks there. To get 2 huge pass plays, essentially back-to-back, then to get, a rush touchdown. I mean, that's got to be a welcome sign. Again, all we talk about is hope, right? You have to give yourself hope. You're getting down to the end of this first half.
Kick from Jotham Casey.
I don't think that was
that
good.
sails wide.
Ooh,
Jotham
yeah.
Casey, the kicking for Bowdoin has not been their strong suit. Of course, Casey missing a kick for a field goal within the 20-yard line in their past couple of games. Also missing an extra point in previous games and missing another one here.
That came off really weird off the foot. It was very much like a horizontal wobbler. Yeah. I mean, that it's they're okay with that. It's still a 15-point game, but again, if you're talking about momentum, you're talking about hope. That kind of kills your momentum, Instead of defense taking off down 14, you're only down 15, but the last play you did was a missed extra point, 18 yards or so.
14 versus 15 does make a difference. It does mean that you have to convert at least 1 2-point conversion,
right,
as well as 1 extra point, which, of course, we've seen not necessarily guaranteed.
All right, and then if you miss that extra point, well, all of a sudden it's still a 2-possession game.
Casey here for the kick. We will find the hands of Smith, and he's going to take it for a run right down the middle. It will be at around the Jumbo 23-yard line.
So with 2:33 left, plenty of time for the Jumbos, especially because we know they can, they have the offensive firepower to move down the field pretty quickly. I believe they have all 3 of their timeouts left. No 2-minute warning, of course, in college football, but even still with 3 timeouts, you got plenty of time yet here. For the Jumbos, I think it's just get any points because, 15 to 18 resets it right back to 3 possessions. You're absolutely okay going into the half, 3 possessions up. Bowdoin, it's just no points. They don't, I don't think they're necessarily looking to say, okay, we want the ball back, we want to score again. Their end goal has to be one way or another. Do not let them put any more points on that board.
Both Bowdoin and Tufts only have 2 field goals attempted throughout this season, so not necessarily their traditional line of attack. This pass in for Cade Moore, another big gain here for Moore, and he breaks through a tackle and is still up, finally out at the sideline at around the 35-yard line. Jack Havener, the safety, just wasn't able to get Moore down to the ground.
I mean, the Polar Bears cannot allow that to happen. I mean, it's an obvious passing situation. First down, there's just so much space there. I understand they're playing in some sort of zone, but even so, I mean, great credit to where credit is due. Great recognition by K. Moore to exploit the soft spot, but that's just way too much space. Pretty unacceptable there.
Berluti looking down the middle, as this time it will be Lutz to pick it up, and he is stopped right around that first down marker.
Finally stopped. Yeah, you can clearly tell the way Lutz sets up. I think the Jumbos have a really good handle on the Bowdoin zone that's being played, and I think that might have been a big adjustment. It just took them a bit to get comfortable with the zone because you can see the way Lutz sets up is he basically is stationary when he catches that ball for at least a full second before Berluti throws it because he knows that the defenders around him have their assigned zones. They're not going to get too much closer to him.
2nd and 1 here for the Jumbos with less than 90 seconds to play in the first half. Continuing the passing game, this time pass is complete to Jackson Butler. He'll get the first down and a new set of opportunities for the Jumbos.
Jumbos have gone about like 50-ish yards, probably more, in the span of about a minute and a half. So their timing is fine. They're choosing not to burn any timeouts. Doesn't seem in an extreme hurry, and I think that's the right call.
Berluti once again looking to pass, looking over to his right. And it will just be thrown away, technically intended there for Johnson.
Yeah, good job by Berluti. He was trying to get Johnson out beyond the flat into more space, but I think that's always the problem in a QB points is everyone can see that finger, and so the defenders, they read and they moved with Tyler Johnson there. Good choice by Berluti. Just get the play blown dead on an incompletion. Save your time. Don't throw any risky balls.
Moore and Richardson on the left side. Butler and Lutz on the right, as the Jumbos have been running 4 wideouts for majority of this first half.
I think Berluti's going to look to the near side. There you go.
It will be Johnson looking to try and stop him. Are multiple members of Bowdoin. Finally, Liam Ford is able to take him down, but a little bit later than they might have wanted.
Jumbos will burn a timeout there with 54 seconds left to go. And yeah, I mean, what did we talk about? It was actually earlier, I believe, in this game that we said there was a play very similar, throwing to the other side, and we said I didn't feel like Johnson got enough space there to get going. Different there. He had more space, and Berluti led him a bit more, gave Johnson a lot of momentum. And once Ty Johnson is out in the open field, he's really hard to bring down. You saw it there. You had 3 defenders try to tackle him, and even still, he gets an extra 2 yards just off the tackle alone.
Timeout called, as you said, to stop the clock at 54 seconds. And the Jumbos have one last opportunity to score here. Of course, getting those extra points, especially after such an amazing drive that you've already contributed here, would be absolutely massive heading back to the locker room.
And Berluti leads the offense back onto the field. They're going to be setting up from what appears to be the 22-yard line. So 22 yards, 2 timeouts, 54 seconds. Very, very doable. Very, very doable.
They're going to need to convert on this 3rd and 5, though, right here.
Look at the top of the screen. You have one-on-one matchups twice. Berluti's looking there.
He will look over to the left side, finds Lutz, but a bit of a strong breakup there, as it does look like a polar bear is down.
Yeah, good.
It was a big hit out of Jack Havener.
Yeah, good to see Havener get up real quick because I think it just caught him in a vulnerable position. Here come the Jumbos for the field goal attempt. Yeah, like we said, it was one-on-one matchups at the top on the far side, and that's exactly where Berluti went immediately. It was a good job to cut off there and make a good play on the ball and will try the field goal. 38 yards, I believe, will be the attempt.
Von Seelig back to kick. His longest has been 31. And it is left way short. Might have even grabbed a hand.
That was definitely tipped. Yeah, really good pressure right there. The interior of the line.
No good. It'll be Bowdoin ball.
Now an interesting dilemma now. You have 2 timeouts on for Bowdoin. 46 seconds, Andrew. Do you think they go for it? I think they'll take a shot or two, but, I mean, they're going to have the ball at a, what is that, the 22? No, I feel like I don't know if that's correct. I think the ball should be a little further closer.
22 is where they kick the field goal. And so I believe that is where Bowdoin will receive the ball. Fahey has been the primary target this game here for the Polar Bears. We'll see if Bull looks to return. Instead, just going to go for the run as Eden is staying up for quite a while. Finally, will get stopped for about a gain of 6.
Let's see if they call a timeout. No timeout, so they're going to walk into the half with this, I think. Yeah, they don't seem to be any particular rush. And now they call a timeout. Well, that was interesting.
So they wait for the clock to tick down to about 31.
No, I think they're actually just swapping out the ball. I don't think there was a timeout called, actually. Yeah, they're just going to swap out the ball.
This is a new NCAA rule. I believe the clock will start to run again in just a little bit, or just will be stopped at 31 seconds as Bull will hand it off to Eden once more. It will be that first down, but, you know, given the spot that Bowdoin was at previously without
unfortunately
that first down, it seems like that might be the end of the play, but there is a Polar Bear down. So a bit of a somber note to close out this first half, Scott, but a very strong showing for the Tufts Jumbos. Michael Berluti with a very strong few possessions and 3 touchdowns in a row, essentially, in the first 10 minutes of that second quarter.
Yeah, and it really felt like the Jumbos simply just figured out the way the Bowdoin was playing the zone. We know we kind of talked about it, Andrew, me and you pregame. The way they set up their defense was a bit. It clearly looked like they're going to play a lot of zone with they had a lot of defensive backs. But I think they had 3 safeties listed as 2 cornerbacks. So you could tell they're going to enter the game playing some zone. And I think it threw the Jumbos for a bit of a loop, but they eventually figured it out. Especially on that last possession, the possession before that, you could just see the way they are exploiting the soft spots. I don't think Bowdoin's doing a good enough job confusing the Jumbos anymore. It's one of those things where, you know, it works until it doesn't, and then you got to have a backup plan. It's a game of adjustments, just like every other sport, but especially when you're talking about schemes. And I just don't think Bowdoin's kept up with the way the Jumbos have adjusted to their scheme. And I'll be interested to see if they come out in the second half. But, of course, you know, our attention is now down the injured Bowdoin player, hoping that he is going to be okay.
And the interesting thing here, Scott, one of the main takeaways from this first half kind of has been the decision of which receivers to go for both offenses. You know, Berluti opting to go for Cade Moore, who wasn't necessarily a primary option for the first couple of games of the season. And on the other side, it was Colton Fahey who got a lot of extra opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it was just the matchup. I think the Bowdoin felt like Fahey, the way he was running on the sideline, starting and most recently on towards us, that he had an opportunity, and they were right, especially on that last possession. Fahey was making a very good initial move to get by his primary defender, who was playing really close to the line, and the Jumbos were late, or whether it was intentional or not, they weren't there in time rotating some of the safety help. And what ended up happening was, as we saw 2 or 3 times, twice on that last possession, 3 or 4 times overall, so that Fahey was open for kind of a throw right there, a back shoulder throw, and or leading him into the sideline, and it was well executed.
Still some time being taken to care for an apparent injury again on the Bowdoin side. Hope everything is well with them. I believe it was an offensive lineman that ended up going down. Well, at halftime, there will be, we won't be necessarily showcasing it here on JumboCast, but there is a presentation for a very special accomplishment. In 1992, Bowdoin College and Tufts University football teams, they both traveled 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean to play a game in Galway, Ireland. The contest, termed the Christopher Columbus Classic, was played in front of 2,500 fans at Pierce Stadium and was the final game of the 1992 season. A 7-6 win for the Polar Bears. The game was played in cold, muddy conditions and was the first Division III game ever played in Europe. And a very important accomplishment there, as I believe a lot of the former alumni from those former football teams are here, and they will be honored here at halftime. Pretty impressive stuff, going all the way over to Ireland for a NESCAC football game.
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully, it looks like the injured player was able to get to his feet. A lot of assistance from his teammates going to be carted off, but at the very least, good that he was able to get up.
And you never want to see that, especially out of an offensive lineman. You know, those guys, they're playing almost the entire game, a lot of the time when they're on offense. Really no breaks, and of course, unfortunately, a really unfortunate circumstance here.
And you can see him making a gesture towards his sideline, which is good to hear.
Due to injury. Please reset the game clock to 16 seconds. The clock will start on the ready.
And, under 2 minutes with injuries, there will be a runoff. I think Bowdoin has elected not to cancel out that runoff with a timeout. That's their choice. So the clock's going to start, I believe, on the ready to play. And they're just going to be content to end the half at that.
So a very strong first half to kick off homecoming weekend, or close out homecoming weekend, I should say, for the Tufts Jumbos. They lead 21-6 over Bowdoin as they head to the locker rooms for the end of this first half. As we said, Scott, very strong play coming out for Tufts, and Bowdoin going to have to come back here in the second, which is not something that they're accustomed to.
Yeah, I think, kind of interesting that we saw that they did a good job making some offensive adjustments on that last possession right there not before this one, the last successful one. Now it's going to be up to defensive adjustments. That's what I think is going to matter the most.
We'll see if they can find it, as we will head to a short break here on JumboCast here for a halftime. It is 21-6, the Jumbos lead between the Bows and the Bears.
Hypnotic, magical. Don't wanna let you know you're so hypnotic, magical. Don't wanna let you know you're so hypnotic, magical.
A 7-6 win for the Polar Bears. The game was played in cold, muddy conditions and was the first Division III game ever played in Europe. We want to first acknowledge the significant contributions of former Tufts Director of Athletics Rocky Carzo and Jumbo Paul Gillespie from the Tufts class of 1962. They were instrumental in making the dream of two New England small college football teams comprised of nearly 200 players, coaches, and staff playing a game overseas a reality and a rousing success. Sadly, both Rocky and Paul passed away earlier this year, but the two teams are at midfield tonight, standing as one, and are a tribute to their vision and belief in the power of sport and values learned through competition. Tonight, we welcome the Polar Bears, led by head coach Howard Vandersea and team captains Peter Casey, Eric LaPlaca, and Anthony Shana. And the Jumbos, led by head coach Dwayne Ford and team captain Mike Frizzoli, from that game as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of that historic day. Let's give a warm round of applause for all the members of both teams from the 1992 Bowdoin Tufts Christopher Columbus Classic.
Don't wanna let you know you're so hypnotic, magical. Don't wanna let you know you're so hypnotic, magical.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something.
Welcome, fans. Another Tufts University football game. Beautiful spin move, and he's still going. Touchdown! Michael Berluti.
Jumbos on 3. 1, 2, 3.
5, 4, 2, 1.
Let's go, Jumbos!
We are ready for second half action between the Tufts Jumbos and the Bowdoin Polar Bears. Andrew Howe alongside Scott Blatt to bring you the call for this second half of play, and a very dominant first half here, Scott, for the Tufts Jumbos, especially on the offensive on the offensive side.
You'd think the Polar Bears might be in their element in this cold, but apparently not. And it really comes down to a lot of the rushing yards that the Bears and the Jumbos have accumulated respectively. Jumbos have 102 rushing yards. The Bears have 11. They're averaging 0.8 yards a rush. That's been the key difference so far. And Andrew, I think you want to talk about a bit about mental health and what the Jumbos are about to do.
Yeah, and again, in support of the Helinski's Hope Foundation, founded by Mark and Kim Helinski to support their son Tyler, we will be, in a moment of silence here throughout the first play of this opening kickoff here. You can see the players, you can see the fans, all holding up 3 fingers in solidarity for mental health awareness, and that's how this second half will begin.
3 fingers in the sky during the first play of the third quarter. In a few moments, please join the Jumbos in this gesture as a sign that mental health matters to all of us. Thank you.
Patrick Walsh set to kick things off here for the Jumbos to start the second half.
Fair catch on the kickoff by Bowdoin's Eli DeHerez. Polar Bears will take over first and 10 on their own 25-yard line.
And back come the Polar Bears here for their first play of the second half. The offense is going to have to start very soon and very quickly here, Scott.
Yeah, and again, you got to look for that connection from Andrew Boll and Colton Fahey along the sideline. Our far sideline here, that's the connection that they really exploited on the second-to-last drive that really worked.
They're going to start with the good old-fashioned bread and butter with a run to Eden, picking up a couple of yards.
Eden will get 5 more yards, but he, along with the rest of the team, has really struggled on the ground. As far as receiving yards, he only has 32 yards, which, they're going to say 32 yards in the first half. It's not pretty respectable for a team that came out with 200 rushing yards last week. They're definitely well below their pace, especially when you're only averaging 0.8 of a yard per rush.
Well, the Polar Bears continue with the run, but it looks like instead going to go for Eden on a bit of a short pass. Gets through a couple of defenders and over for a first down.
And I think that's actually going to be categorized as a rush because the ball was thrown slightly backwards. So, yeah, they're going to give that Green a carry there for about 8 or so yards, and it'll force a first down. Good job by the Bears setting the tone early.
Quick first down is exactly what you're going to want to see here for the Bowdoin Polar Bears. And then Bowl gets another set of opportunities. Will he go to Eden again? Looks like they're going to stick with what's working, as Andre Eden will come over for a short gain.
Eden on the carry for Bowdoin. Michael Butler on the stop for the Jumbos.
It was Butler on the tackle, the defensive defensive end up in the front for the Jumbos, a very effective player for them, and kind of the highlight of this front side of defensive ends here for the Jumbos.
And of course, it was Michael Butler who came up with the probably game-saving, at least at the time, field goal block last week that allowed Victor Garza to return that touchdown for 75 yards, tie that game going into the half.
Bull, another handoff. Eden gets through and will get just short of that first down marker. It was Will McCreary with the tackle.
I think Coach Savetti, based on his reaction, I think he felt like at least one of the Jumbos was held up defensively. Did feel like two of the Jumbos went down and pretty easily weren't able to give their full effort there and allowed Eden to get around the corner.
It'll be 3rd and 1, a very short amount of yardage to be gained here by Bull and the rest of the Polar Bears. You expect Eden to try to get this up the middle again. That's what they will do. It is stopped rather short. It will be a close call.
They're going to mark him short. Both linesmen are going to mark him short. Now what do you do? 4th down. I think Bull is advocating to go for it. I would definitely go for it. I mean, this is it's early in the 3rd quarter, but the Jumbos offense is humming. It's a 15-point game. I think you have to go for it. You have to trust in your offense to get you 2 yards. One thing I don't think I'm going to like, though, is I think Bull is going to set up in his shotgun. Not sure why.
Bowdoin is 1 for 6 on their 4th down attempt of the
go.
season. They're just going to send Bull straight down the middle, and it looks like he's gotten enough room.
Yeah, that was a good choice by Bull. Again, when it looked like he might set up a shotgun, I didn't necessarily agree with it, but it was a good kind of decoy there to get him so he could get really right behind the center real fast and get that sneak off, get about a full yard, and it'll be enough for the first.
So a bit of a change in pace for the Polar Bears, trying to switch things up. Of course, relying a lot on Colton Fahey in the pass game in that first half, but this time has been a lot of Andre Smith on the run. Andre Eden, sorry.
Look at if they pass here, a lot of interesting matchups to exploit. One-on-one on either side. I think they have him on the close sideline. Yep.
Target once again is Fahey, but it is
He caught it. I think he caught it.
Jumbo's down on the ground.
I think he caught it. Wow. Well, that was
Fahey somehow comes away with the ball.
It's the second time we've seen that where the Jumbos make the initial play on the ball and Fahey just finds it. He did have him. As I said, with that press coverage, the Jumbos keep trying it. It's not working against Colton Fahey. Now, he's had a couple good breaks, but still, the Bears are doing a great job of exploiting that on the near side. We've seen it now 5 times this game.
And it was Christian Rosario on the secondary, unable to come away with that. And instead, Bull gets another shot. Set back to pass once again. And this time, it is picked off by the Jumbos.
Wow, what a play. Looked like that was one-handed.
I think it was Shane Reiner who comes away with it. Louis Timmons, number 25, the cornerback, coming out with the interception. What a play. Stopping the Bowdoin Polar Bears right at their red zone.
Outstanding coverage, but it's an underthrown ball. It's through the backside by Bull. He's done that a couple times, and he hasn't gone away with it every time. He's been able to he's been bailed out by his receivers a lot. Not that time. That ball needs to be at least another yard forward.
Now a tough situation, of course, for the Jumbos that they are now literally at the 1 yard line. Berluti will have a lot of ground to make up for their first possession of this second half. Sending it right back to Johnson up the middle will get the Jumbos out of any dangerous territory.
And that's a huge rush by Johnson. He's only going to get 5 yards there, but to be able to get past the first layer into the linebackers, get into the second layer when you're that close to the goal line, it opens up so many more opportunities, gives you such breathing room. What a run by Tyler Johnson. Not going to be something you look at the end of the game and you say, wow, it's going to show up on the score sheet, but that was absolutely critical.
See Richardson and Lutz playing on the outside, as it looks like the rest of the Tufts offense will be utilized as blockers here on this play. Play action straight to Lutz, and that's a first down in the middle.
That connection again, Will Lutz.
Bill Lutz again with an exceptional season, caught for over 1,000 yards in 2021 and off to a very equal, if not better pace this year.
Yeah, going into this game, he was ahead of his pace from last year, believe it or not. including last year against these very these Bowdoin Bears. He had 107 yards. That's 107 out of a total of 160 passing yards.
Berluti with the fake on the handoff, and instead is going to take the run himself, is stopped right over the first down marker, yielding another set of opportunities.
Berluti is just so shifty back there. I mean, Andrew, you'll remember we heard it when we were doing some interviews. Kind of his receivers were joking and saying, he's like Lamar Jackson because he's a better runner than he is a passer, and you see it right there. Although he's pretty good passing too.
Quick handoff to Johnson again off of the first down. Will yield about a gain of 2.
And just to finish up on that Berluti point, I mean, one thing you saw right there is he's taking it and he's met immediately, right? He's got someone trailing him almost immediately in the backfield. And he's just so effortlessly able to make them miss. Whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a defensive lineman, whether it's a safety, it doesn't matter. He's able to get right by them. It just shows how dynamic of a runner he is.
A lot of options here for Berluti, including taking it himself. Quick pass over to the left side, and that looks like Lutz getting a bit of room right around the first down marker.
I mean, when those plays are working, you're in a good spot. All Berluti does there is he takes the ball and he immediately throws to Phil Lutz. It's great recognition, recognizing that there's no defensive back within 5 yards of Phil Lutz, and then it's trusting your receiver to create some separation and get some extra yards after catch, and he did that exactly there. Just outstanding play and great recognition again by Berluti. It's the reason he's been throwing at such a high clip.
And they're going to give him the first down. It is another first down here for the Jumbos. And very quickly, Scott, after being at the 1 yard line, Tufts is once again in opposition territory. Berluti in the shotgun. Quick handoff here to Johnson, who gets a bit of room and will get taken down for about a gain of 5.
Yeah, Berluti did his best there to hold off on that handoff as long as possible. He really extended his arms to sell the play fake, whether it be a pass, whether it be a QB option. And I think that helped Johnson, as you kind of saw the linebackers hold off just a tad. It allowed Johnson to get some more momentum going forward.
2nd and 5 on the first possession here for Tufts at the second half. Berluti looking straight down the middle, and another completion again to Lutz. Oh, sorry, that is Cade Moore again, who's having an absolutely fantastic game.
Well, we talked about it, right, is it felt like the Jumbos just needed a bit of time to recognize the style and scheme that the Bears were rolling out. But they've done an outstanding job of finding the soft spots, especially in the middle of the coverage in the short game. Long game, they've looked a little further towards the sideline, but short game, they've really figured out how to beat the Bears.
Berluti quick pass to Richardson down the middle, who finds the open lane and into the end zone for a touchdown.
Richardson again, and what did we saw it exactly, right? That middle of the field has been open. It's a great move by Richardson, recognizing he has one-on-one coverage, recognizing the linebackers are pushing forward. Just a quick move, create some space, and his speed, no one's catching up with him. Great throw by Berluti to hit him in stride, allow him to keep all his momentum going forward. Yet another well-executed drive by the Jumbos.
A 99-yard drive at that, Scott, and it was everybody contributing, whether it's Berluti on the run, Johnson on the rush, or Lutz, Moore, and Richardson, all with crucial catches to get the Jumbos back to about a 21-point lead. Seelik's extra point is good, and it is now 22 points in favor of the Jumbos, 28-6. What a job by the Tufts offense. I mean, a 99-yard drive, that's about as good as you get.
Yeah, and besides, up until that last play, the Jumbos have just been, they hadn't been trying to do too much, right? They're just taking what was given to them, right? You saw it in a couple plays. That first play to to Phil Lutz, you saw on the far sideline. What he did was he had some space, 1 yard pass, 6 or 7 yards after the catch. You saw a couple runs, take the 5-6 yards, and then that really opens up the middle of the field. Once you show you're not afraid to keep it short, just take the small gains. It forced the Bowdoin to be aware of those small gains. It's in their head, and all of a sudden you get Richardson streaking right down the middle for an easy walk-in touchdown.
And the gap continues to widen here as Bowdoin desperately needs a score potentially on this very drive as a fair catch is made off of the kickoff from Walsh.
And, there's been one matchup that's worked so far, right? We've seen it time and time again this game, and it's been Andrew Boll trying to find Colton Fahey. I think the Jumbos really just need to make an adjustment there, and it may be as simple as, tighter coverage, as a safety shadowing him the whole way down. Too many times in the last 3 or 4 offensive possessions for Bowdoin, we've seen Fahey get a step on his initial defender without any help.
Fahey with 5 receptions for 150 receiving yards, including that first really big pass there at the beginning. That is 92.6% of all of the receiving yards that have gone in Bowdoin's favor so far.
And really, it's been the same play almost every time. At least 4 of those passes has been some sort of initial move on the line of scrimmage and then streaking right down the sideline. That's an adjustment the Jumbos can and probably should make. I'll be interested to see how they start lining up against Fahey going forward, knowing that, that's really been the only thing that's worked so far for Bowdoin.
Cam O'Brien on the short tackle there, as it is 2nd and 10 now for the Polar Bears. Boll takes the snap, looks over to his left down the middle, intended for Hoggard, and it will sail out
So if
of
you
bounds.
can see on camera right now, Fahey is grabbing his helmet. He was wide open on an identical route to what was actually the touchdown for Jaden Richardson. He made an inside move, and I think we are going to have some sort of...
The flag has been thrown.
No flag on the play. And Fahey made a great move on his primary defender, where he actually had less press coverage, a little looser coverage, and he was wide open with really no safety help. If you hit him in stride there, that could be a huge gain. Unfortunately, Boll never looked his direction. Probably the only time he hasn't looked at his direction so far this game. And Bowdoin really needs to get a move on here. I don't know if they realize, but the play clock is already down to 7 seconds.
Might have to be a quick timeout if they don't get things
Yeah,
rolling. Boll having to try and rush the offense will get this snap in time. Looks over to the left, which is where Fahey is. Off on the deep run, it is Hoggard who barely misses out on the catch, but there is a flag on the play. That might be a big gain here.
They're going to get pass interference, I think. I see the contact at the same time. It's one of those classic, it's underthrown, and it just leads to contact because the ball is underthrown until the receiver is trying to come back to the ball. Of course, it will only be 15 yards. College pass interference is not a spot foul, so thankfully it could have been worse for the Jumbos. But at the same time, I think Boll needs to make an adjustment on his end. He needs to get the ball out sooner. He's underthrown a lot of his receivers today, and that's really tight coverage. There's a window there. It's a limited window. But I think Boll has been a bit too shallow on a lot of these throws. So I would say get that ball out earlier or change how your receivers are running their routes because, besides the pass interference, that was very nearly another pick. That ball landed closer to the Jumbos defender than it did to the receiver himself.
So it will be another reset on the downs for Bowdoin. Boll takes the snap. They're going to give it over to Eden, who gets his first run of the drive, but he's stopped behind the line of scrimmage. That is Cam O'Brien with the tackle for loss.
Great pursuit by O'Brien. He was not the first person to contact, but he made a great hit, recognizing all he needed to do is force him out of bounds, and that's exactly what he did. Something to keep an eye on. We've seen a lot of low snaps recently going back to Boll from, I believe, Lodka is the center. Hasn't been a fumble yet, but even so, it gets into quarterback's head where you're saying, you need to squat down another half foot to be able to receive this snap. As you see it there again.
Pressure early, and Boll is down. The safety coming in, Jonathan O'Neill, playing a major factor in that sack here on Boll. But it was Dom DiCrescenzo who gets the end final call, number 99.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. The line basically collapsed there. You had 2 or 3 Jumbos getting immediate pressure. Could have been any one of them who end up recording the final sack. No chance there for Andrew Boll. There's nothing he can do. He knew, and you could see once he saw the 3 Jumbos penetrate, he knew the end was inevitable.
Boll with a loss of 9 there on the sack and have to make a big play here on this 3rd and long.
And it's going to be a timeout. Bowdoin, 3rd and 19. I think, it's always a tough call. What do you do here?
Timeout called here by Bowdoin as on the field we are honoring the POWMIA National Chair of Honors program here with Jumbo's football. Located left of the press box, the POWMIA chair will remain perpetually empty. Tell people remember that even though our soldiers are not here, there are always space for them. Tufts honors the sacrifices of all who serve, veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors, and join in on our nation's commitment to remember the American prisoners of war and missing in action from the Vietnam War and other wars and conflicts in the past.
Missing in action from the Vietnam War and other wars and conflicts of the past.
A lot of great stuff being commemorated here, especially on homecoming weekend, Scott. Some really good football being played as well, as Bowdoin will get possession of the ball.
Yeah, especially if you're a Jumbo fan, right? I mean, it feels like you're well on your way to another victory and starting the season 3-1, 3 straight. It's big for momentum.
Ball looking to the left side, has a deep pass opportunity, and it is nearly caught, but it is incomplete by Austin Hisco.
We're going to see a flag there, probably for a personal foul if they end up calling it. It's a tough play. The receiver's heading to the ground. His head is lowered, and there was a pretty violent collision. The Jumbo sideline's pretty irate. They're going to argue that it was incidental. There's no choice for the defender there. It's really just hard to tell from our vantage point, but that's what the flag may be for. And you could see it was a pretty violent collision, which ultimately resulted in the drop. It's a pretty big play because if it is a personal foul, that's what they're discussing right now, then it'll be an automatic first down, and we'll see what the ref ends up deciding after the huddle. But for now, both teams, offense and defense, staying on the field. But I don't think they're going to call it. Seems like the referee's bringing the ball. I don't know. Let's see.
The flag was thrown.
Oh, they will call it. I think that means
so a targeting penalty here.
Wow.
A very, very big call here, as Christian Rosario has, I believe, been ejected from the game following that targeting foul.
Well, it's an automatic ejection if they do call targeting. At Division I, it's reviewable. They go to the booth. Obviously, I don't believe they're going to do that here. And there's not really a choice, which is why you have that discussion, right? Because it is more than just a foul. You eject someone as the result of a targeting call in college football. It's a rule unique to college, not applicable to the NFL. It's one of those things where even if it was a foul, it doesn't feel like it should be, it just feels like it was two players, one happening to catch the other at a vulnerable spot. Oh,
ball is cut loose.
Flag is down.
As Eden drops the handle, it is recovered by Tufts, but there is a flag on the play.
Yeah, the flag came out. It felt like as the ball carrier went down. My wonder is if they would call something like tripping. That could be my only guess. Let's see. Oh, no. Yep, it's going to be holding on the Polar Bears. They're going to decline that. Jumbo's going to come away with the ball. That's just a very strange play, Andrew. It felt like, we were a bit, blinded from our vantage point. It felt like the ball carrier kind of just, tripped or fell, and the ball came out at the same time. Didn't look like there was a particularly violent hit there, but the Jumbos will take the ball back, and really, it does feel like any points here might just very well ice it. Up 22 right now, so that's 3 possessions, but even a field goal here would make it 4, and at that point, it might be the end.
Quick apology here as a quick correction. The personal foul was not called on Rosario. Instead, Victor Garza, who was that NESCAC Special Teams Player of the Week. So another major blow as O.J. Armstrong did come in to fill in cornerback there.
Yeah, I think that's our apology. I believe they misread it over the loudspeaker. Yeah, that is a big blow for the Jumbos. Kind of the hero of last week, forcibly removed from this game due to the targeting call.
Now Berluti gets another opportunity, finds a pocket to run. We'll get a ton of space in for a first down.
It's just so impressive, right? It looks like he's about to be met by contact at, 6 or 7 yards down the field, and he's just able to, basically scamper. That's the best word I can describe it. Scamper to the sideline and get another 8-9 yards. It's just, he runs right around people. His speed is just unbelievable.
Seems like magic out there at times. And another first down here for the Jumbos at the 24-yard line. Jumbo's stacking 3 receivers on the left side. They'll find Lutz, and he's going to go off to the races, dodging 4 members of the Polar Bear defense and getting right in on for a first down.
I mean, exactly the same thing we were talking with Berluti. Now extend that to Lutz because, I mean, did you see that move he made after he caught the ball? He got right around one defender, great block on the outside, but then an unbelievable cut. Just to, I mean, effortlessly get by the second defender and get another 5 or 6 yards well beyond the catch. Just so impressive.
Berluti looks to Johnson, and he will get within the 10.
That was a good tackle there. It's Coy Price. Again, we talked about Coy at the beginning of the game. We said we expected, him to play a bit of a role and, showing up there again with another tackle. And it was a very good tackle because it seemed like Johnson might have a lane upfield if he didn't get there.
3.5 minutes left to go here in the third quarter. Jumbo's trying to pick up their 5th touchdown of the game. Berluti looks over to the left side, a lofting pass over to Richardson, but it is broken up. Double coverage there on Jaden Richardson, and it will be an incomplete pass. The Jumbos will do it again.
I think he was just a step too late. I think Richardson, he was running out of room. Berluti recognized that, so he had to. You want to lead him just a bit more there. It threw him a little too far back and allowed the defender to break it up there. And almost a very nearly kind of miraculous pick on that tip. But I like the idea, and I think Berluti did have Richardson, had the angle, just maybe a second off on the timing.
Jumbos will run with 2 receivers on either side.
Someone moved, I felt like.
Looking for a flag to call. Looks like the refs will let the player run. And I believe a timeout was called by the Jumbos.
That's a bit of an interesting, I guess, 3rd and 7, I guess it is a pretty important play. Not sure I'd burn a timeout there, but, I think it is. And I think it is, again, points. I think any points here really make it difficult. I mean, this is a team, the Bears, they put up 40 in the game 1, but since they've only been able to get 10 apiece in weeks 2 and 3, all sitting at 6 right now. I mean, to ask them to come back from what would essentially become 4 possessions with any points here, and it's 18.5 minutes of gameplay, it's a very, very tall task for any team, especially one that hasn't really been able to move the ball with the exception of a single drive.
Force for the Jumbos still have 7 yards to go, and it is 3rd down. You can see Von Seelig warming up on the kicks here for the Jumbos. Something interesting about the offensive setup that the Jumbos have been running is they've been going with 4 receivers, no tight end on the floor, on the field, for the Jumbos. Of course, Chase Mangini getting majority of the starts at the start of the year, but now it seems like Moore has kind of taken that spot.
Yeah, I think it's been working. Right? I think what you've seen is a lot of really athletic plays, right? You have your smaller wide receivers out there. They've been making a lot of athletic plays when they get the ball.
Berluti looks back, trying to find an open receiver, and Moore barely is unable to collect that ball. It will be 4th and 7.
And, yep. Just good solid coverage all the way around. Berluti recognized that, tried to fit into a tight window that obviously was simply not there. The Jumbos will walk away pretty happy, I think, with the field goal attempt, of course, but they'll have to convert it and then talk about score differential.
Von Seelig, longest kick complete, has been 31 yards on the year. And we'll try to even up his count at 1 for 2 on the day. Sailing through the uprights, the kick is good, and Tufts will increase their lead to 25, leading 31-6.
Again, now that puts the Jumbos up to 25, like you said. We can do the math on that. Even if touchdown and 2-point conversion 3 times, that only get to 24. That means it's a 4-possession game. A lot of work to do if you're the Bears.
Will Bowdoin be able to get it done? That is a very, very tough question here because it hasn't happened so far here for the Polar Bears. And it seems like the Tufts defense really has come around after a couple of shaky plays. Of course, in that first half, doesn't look like they've been able to find as much of their rhythm here in this third quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Tufts has made a great adjustment. They've been able to take away a lot of the passing game, in particular, who we've been talking about this entire game. They've taken away Fahey, right? They've taken him away so far on all possessions so far this quarter. he had one play that he could have gotten the ball, probably was open, but so far so good for the Jumbos.
Walsh will kick things off. Another fair catch here by the Polar Bears as they'll get it at the 25. If we take a look here at some of the individual stats and on terms of the Bowdoin offense, as we said, Fahey almost in the entirety of the receiving yardage that has been given here. Of course, Brendan King had a couple of small catches here for a total of 8 yards, but it really has been Jed Hoggard, Scott, who hasn't really gotten that many opportunities so far in this game.
Yeah, a bit surprising. We saw him target a couple times. There's a couple play incompletions on those targets. It didn't feel like they just established that rhythm with him.
The trick play here is not really going to result in much.
No, that jet sweep went absolutely nowhere. It's a forward pass for, what was that, -3 yards or so? Yeah, good recognition by the Jumbos to snuff that out.
There's a flip over to Postemski, who tried to get some extra yardage. Instead, a loss of, I believe, 7 on that play. It'll be 2nd and 17, a very long distance here to go for Bowl. This time they'll go a little bit more traditional down the middle here for Eden. We'll pick up a couple of yards.
You know, I mean, we talked about it a lot, Colton Fahey, and the number of yards. I mean, it's just stunning looking at the box score and seeing him with 150 yards. He's a leading receiver on the day. Only 2 other people have caught passes from Bowl, and they've both been for 8 yards. So you have 150, 8, and 8. Compare that to the Jumbos. They have 108, 101, and 96. You have 3 receivers that are basically at 100 yards. And that's been the issue. It's a 3-headed attack versus, 1-headed attack. It makes a big difference.
Bowl looks over to the right side. Fahey, the pass is picked off. The Jumbos put an immediate stop to the attempted offense here for the Polar Bears. Christian Rosario coming away with the interception, and the Jumbos get the right ball right back in enemy territory.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Andrew Bowl, it's another underthrown ball. We saw it there. That's the Jumbos have made the correct reads basically every time. I think they've done a good job of diagnosing Andrew Bowl and the way he likes to throw. He clearly does not. He doesn't lead his receivers. He tends to throw shorter, hoping that they can win a jump ball, maybe the back shoulder. But the Jumbos have consistently undercut him in the second half. They've made a couple picks now, and a couple pass breakups. Just a really good job.
Matt Crowley getting some playing time here for the Jumbos, as it seems like Jay Savetti and the rest of the coaching staff thinks that it's maybe time to give another quarterback a shot.
And, that might be fair because Berluti has had another outstanding day. He's at 336 yards, QBR of 173.6, 21 for 31, and 2 touchdowns, including a 54-yard pass. He also ran it in for a score, as we know. So, with comfortably ahead, doesn't look like the Bears are really in any position to come back. Might as well get some more reps to the rest of your team.
A hand up front, and it looks like he will be tackled here for a loss by Smith.
And Smith will come in replacing Ty Johnson, and if Ty Johnson doesn't come back in, not very clear, but he's not coming in right now. We'll see if he gets any other time. He'll finish the day with 99 yards on the day, but an average of 6.2 yards per carry, touchdown, including a 25-yarder, with his longest run of the week. It's a welcome sign. Welcome sign for our back who only recorded 15 scrimmage yards. 15 rushing yards last week.
Crowley looking back, and his pass is intercepted. And now Bowdoin gets a chance to run. Smith, the running back, being the one to take him down. But it is number 45, Gordon Gosdeck, for the Polar Bears, coming away with the pick.
Yeah, it's tough for Crowley to come in there, but unfortunately, he's on the run. He's trying to make something happen. But he doesn't really, I'm not sure if he doesn't see him or he's just trying to get more on it than he can because he's throwing off his back foot on the run. Either way, he kind of finds the defender right there, and it's a pretty easy pick. Now the Bears, clinging for life, they will get the ball starting in Jumbo's territory, which I believe is the first time they've done that all day.
Bull once again just getting another opportunity. They're going to send it right up the middle, and it will be a gain of about 5.
On the carry for Bowdoin.
It was Eli Durrett who has entered the game, the running back out of Columbus, Ohio, coming in for the Polar Bears. And it looks like Eden going to get a little bit of a breather as well.
To gain of 4, it'll be 2nd and 6 for the Polar Bears.
And it looks like the Bears are content to let this go to the end of the quarter. You know, kind of tells you that they themselves don't like their opportunity. You know, obviously, if they thought they had an opportunity, you know, a realistic one, they'd probably try to run a play, not let 25 seconds go to waste. But, you know, it's kind of that time of game. Down 25, 15 minutes left. Might be time, you know, maybe we see a couple trick plays, maybe we see some new stuff, you know, kind of get a feel for what's going on. Obviously, the season's still young, only game 4, so a lot of games left to be played. And so this might be kind of, you know, more of an experimental quarter than anything else on both sides.
Jumbo's starting to run away with it after the first 3 quarters. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the 4th quarter will commence between the Jumbos and the Polar Bears.
We've learned a lot from him, and we've probably learned more from him than he's learned from us.
I think they're a real important part in my life.
Back at the LS Oval here for the 4th quarter between Tufts and Bowdoin. Andrew Howe alongside Scott Blatt as Andrew Bull and the rest of the Bowdoin Polar Bears trying to make a bit of a desperation attempt here on this drive.
Yeah, 3rd and 4, you know, this will probably decide the game, and I mean that in whether, you know, the Polar Bears continue to pursue it as if they think they have a chance to come back or whether they try to start taking it a little easy. We'll see what they do here. They've really struggled on 3rd down throughout this game, and that they are only, I believe, 4-4-12, continuing their season-long struggles of hovering right around that 30% mark.
Bull looks back to pass. Intended target is Matthew Hall, but it goes just wide.
Yeah, it's just great coverage down the field. Again, I mean, you know, Bull has just tried and tried again to find his receivers, but the Jumbos have at the most been 1 step behind, and that's just such a small window to fit it in. At the very least this time, I think he did a better job of leading his receiver, but unfortunately wasn't able to make that connection. And I believe they will go for it. I mean, at this point, you might as well, on your opponent's 36, you might as well at this point.
Bull looking back, but then trying to find an angle. He will get enough room and pick up a 1st down for the Bears.
Andrew Bull on the carry for.
And I know they haven't had a lot of connection today, Judd Hoggard and Andrew Bull, but if Bull had been able to hang in that pocket 1 more second, I think he had Hoggard streaking down the sideline, much like we've seen Colton Fahey get open. Unfortunately, it was the Jumbo's pressure kind of forced him to roll out to the other side, didn't really have an opportunity.
Fahey all the way over to the left with Hall by his side. The run up the middle by Durrett will get a couple of yards.
And I believe that was Cam O'Brien who got great pressure around the side, made the initial contact, also credited with a tackle in the backfield. And he only gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Second and 10. Bull looking over to the left side. The pass was very, very up and high. Intended, I believe, for number 24, Willem Federico. Things are not working out here on this set of possession.
And Andrew, really, if you want one stat to tell you about the story of this game, it's really about efficiency, right? We talked about how both teams, especially Bowdoin, though, were going to attempt to control the ball. They seem to have the upper hand. And in fact, despite being down by so many points, they've actually run about the same number of plays. The difference is on 54 plays, the Bears have 92 yards. On 57 plays, the Jumbos have 484. It's just
Wow.
they've been far more efficient with the plays they've called.
3rd and 10 here for Bowl, issuing a deep pass with nobody really home. And it looks like it will just be another 4th and long opportunity here.
And that seemed like some sort, it was either a miscommunication or a throwaway. 3rd and 10, you really hope it's a miscommunication because you definitely don't want to be throwing it away no matter what. That's the 2nd play in a row that you've seen that, and the Bears are probably going to go for it unless they really want to try a deep field goal. 48 yards or so from here, probably not. They'll keep the offense out there. Again, this time of game, this score, you might as well.
Doesn't really seem like something that Bowdoin has been comfortable doing throughout the season, so instead they will go for it at the 31-yard line. A short snap here, as it looks like a tackle was nearly evaded, and the ball has been caught. Finally, Jed Hoggard gets onto the board with a big catch to get within the 5-yard line for the Bears.
Andrew, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have no clue how that worked. I mean, he's rolling out, he's rushing his throw, he's getting hit as he throws, and it felt like there was a jumbo right there who just didn't turn around. And let's see, no signal yet. They're going to mark him short on the QB keeper. But, yeah, on that throw, I mean, it was a perfect throw, chest high, but it just felt like the Jumbos had ample opportunity, and they may have just lost the ball, to be completely honest.
It's been a couple of very strong plays, a couple of
unfortunate,
not as strong plays here for Bowl and the rest of the Bowdoin Polar Bears, at least in terms of the pass, as they have another injury on the field, unfortunately, here for Bowdoin.
And it looks like it might be another offensive lineman. I can't tell from here what the number is, but I mean, you never want to lose anyone, but let alone 2 members of your offensive line.
Hope everything is okay here on the Bowdoin side. We're going to step away for just a bit, come right back with the action once things have finished up.
I can't describe it. It feels amazing.
Team Impact is a national nonprofit that connects kids living with serious and chronic illness with college athletic teams, forming lifelong bonds and life-changing outcomes.
Give me a break it! Break it!
Can I have a hug?
Seems like everything was kind of cleaned up and all right there. Hopefully, no major health concerns for any member here of the Bowdoin offensive line, but now have an opportunity to score here on 2nd and goal. They'll send it straight in, but a flag has been called. Not entirely sure where that has gone, but it looks like we're going to play this one over again.
Flag on the play. Five-yard credit.
And it's a false start called on the Bowdoin offense.
Yeah, I missed the number there. Refs might cut out, but yeah, it definitely looks like there was a bit of a head start. Might have assisted in getting into the end zone, and now Bowdoin will reset. Now 2nd and 6.
It'll take it back to the 6-yard line where it'll be 2nd and goal from the 6.
It will still be 2nd down, 6 yards to go for a potential score. Bowl takes another low handoff over to Eden.
He looks short to me.
He looks right on the edge of the end zone right there, and it looks like the refs are going to say that it was not enough.
That'll basically wipe out the false start. Ball is pretty much at the identical spot from the initial 2nd down play, and now it's 3rd and 1. This is actually a very good learning experience for both sides. I mean, these goal line stands are super, super important. Bowdoin's going to get quickly to the line, maybe get a quick snap off right here. Oh my goodness.
The snap is fumbled a little bit, and Bowl is going to have to scramble. He is taken down, and the Jumbos will hold on the possession of at the 1-yard line, 1st and goal.
Well, Andrew, ironically enough, we talked about this earlier, how you saw a lot of low snaps. And I think it was actually that snap was almost normal height, or above the letters. And I just don't think Bowl was ready for it because he's been expecting such a low snap on every single play, and it did in fact come back to bite him.
Seems like the rest of the Bowdoin offense is remaining on the field, and it doesn't look like a field goal is necessarily going to get you back into this game. So why not try here on 4th down? Bull this time gets it cleanly.
Oh man!
Over to Fahey, but he was not prepared for it, and that will be a turnover on downs here at the Jumbo 5-yard line. Jumbo's regaining possession with 10:19 to play.
Yeah, I think a couple things there. Bull was late with that pass, it felt like. I think Fahey had the space, but that space was closed out. And then there's some sort of miscommunication. Looked like Fahey was expecting it towards the pylon. He instead got it to the other shoulder, right where the defender was. So if I was Fahey, I'd rightfully expect that ball to be going to the outside. It didn't. He kind of tried to sell it off as a pass interference, but really it was just incidental contact right where the ball ended up. Jumbos will take over, and I believe we'll see Crowley come right back out as Berluti's day is probably done for good.
Handoff off to Smith. We'll get a couple of yards. Scott, the last time the Jumbos won at home was almost exactly 3 years ago to this day. Of course, finished with a record of 4-5 in the last season, but all those wins coming on the road. And guess what? It was against the Bowdoin Polar Bears on homecoming day. 49-0 was that outcome.
Yeah, so it won't actually probably be that much of a lopsided affair, but it never really was that close today. Maybe in the first few minutes where neither team could drive. But yeah, of course, it's been a bit of a weird stretch for the Jumbos, not playing in 2020, finishing last season on a 4-game winning streak, but not winning at home. You see a good run there by Smith. And then, losing the home opener in a nail-biter to Trinity, so it must feel good. The renovated stadium, you got the new lights, homecoming day, and you do it again in pretty convincing fashion.
And, of course, a lot of recent memory here for the Tufts football team has not been necessarily super pleasant. I stand corrected, actually. The last victory was actually last year here at home on November 6th against Colby. Our colleague here at JumboCast, Sam Brill, tends to not remember that one, and he was not on the mic for the game. Looks like the Jumbos are just trying to kill clock here with Smith, but he's going to get a little bit more than that. Off to the races, about a 20-yard gain for Andre Smith.
Yeah, who needs to kill clock when you have wheels? In all seriousness, it's another facet of the Jumbos game, right? You can sub out Ty Johnson and bring in Smith, and he's going to rip up 2 huge runs back-to-back when basically everyone knows you're running. Very impressive job.
But the point stands, Scott, that this will be the Jumbos' 7th victory in their last 8 games, counting both this season and the last, and their one loss being that very, very close nail-biting loss to Trinity at the start off this season. Things are looking up here for this program.
Absolutely. That Trinity game, look, they really had no business being in that game the way they played in the first half. They were down 26-3. A lot of miscues, a lot of special teams miscues. And then they fought back. They played an outstanding second half. And if you really, pretend you have amnesia and forget the first half of that Trinity game, they've looked like, a top of the NESCAC caliber team. They've really outplayed their opponents in every game since then and every half since then for the most part. And this is definitely, obviously Bowdoin is an up-and-coming team. They've not historically struggled over the past few years. Nevertheless, to come out and really just dominate every facet of the game, it's a welcome step forward.
2nd and 11 as the attempted rush by Smith went a bit wide. It looks like he will go down for another loss here.
We'll lose probably 5 on that play. Yeah, I think the Jumbos are more than content to just bleed some clock here. No need to run up the score. This game is well in hand.
Berluti's night, again, completed 21 for 31. 1 interception, of course, with 2 passing touchdowns for 336 yards. So another very, very stellar performance here by Michael Berluti to, have another really strong start at home.
Yeah, you look at that completion percentage of 67.7. Normally, that's pretty solid for Berluti's standards. You say, what was he doing today? He's 13% below his season average. Wow, what a catch.
The catch. What a play, though, coming out here for the Jumbos.
Wow. What a read. I mean, I genuinely, that looked like an easy interception, and instead you basically had Botsford coming back to the ball. I mean, you very rarely do you see a play like that where the ball is so significantly underthrown, and then the offensive player comes right back to the ball and grabs it. But, what a play by the junior from Milton.
Botson, I believe wearing number 12, is listed as 43 on our rosters. As another rush will come through. Joey DeLumo getting a little bit of playing time as well. Nice opportunity here for some of these players that don't necessarily start all the games to show what they've got to Coach Savetti.
Yeah, absolutely. The sophomore, when you're a freshman, sophomore, you're looking to make a name, get some more reps in. This is definitely a good opportunity. And, all you can do here when you get into that game is, play your heart out. What they're going to look for is the hustle plays. Even, if you're a young wide receiver, are you laying down a good block? If you're a young offensive lineman, are you not giving up on the play? Are you following the ball to make sure? If you're a running back, are you giving that second effort after contact?
Look at DeLumo again, this time for just a short game.
DeLumo on the carry for the Jumbos. Dan Fiore on the stop for Bowdoin.
One of the concerns that we had for the Jumbos this game, Scott, was not necessarily their offense, but the fact that we weren't sure how the defense would kind of, react to the bit of scrappy play that Bowdoin was able to put up. But you can see the scoreboard right now. Only one scoring opportunity was brought into the Polar Bears side.
Absolutely, and the only way that drive ever took place was a couple throws, which we were both surprised by. We expected Bowdoin to continue to run as they did last week against Middlebury, and they tried. To their credit, it just didn't really work.
Pass is incomplete down the middle. It'll bring up fourth down.
And as we mentioned, going into this half, it was Bowdoin was averaging, I believe, 0.8 yards a rush. They are now averaging 1.1, so, really no success at all during the day. And it's just, and also passing, they've 11 for 28 with 2 picks. They've just been really struggled to put anything consistent. The Jumbo's defense has really just clamped down in every possible fashion.
And a lot of that, big credit to the defense. 13 of their players have multiple tackles so far in this game. On fourth down, Crowley's going to go for it, and for the run, down he goes, but it is for a first down at the 15.
That's impressive because he looked like he was about to get walloped, and he really did.
Yeah.
He absorbed that blow, but stumbled forward for another 4 or 5 yards to get that first down. Again, we're talking about hustle plays. That's something, anyone can look to and say, that's the effort you need.
Crowley, the junior, I believe. Yes, Crowley, the junior, started a couple of games in 2021 before getting replaced by Michael Berluti, who kind of has been off to the races ever since, but has four passing touchdowns of his own, 27 rushing yards in 2021, and we'll look for a pass here over to the left side, barely incomplete.
And that was a really well-thrown ball. Unfortunate that I believe that was, I can't actually tell from here. It was Botsford on that far sideline. It was a well-thrown ball by Crowley.
Pass not necessarily something you expect here on 1st and 10 around the the 20-yard line, but of course this is an opportunity for Crowley as well to show that he is a very capable quarterback of his own.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know, especially, obviously the way Berluti's playing, but might as well get more opportunities in there, get some more passes in there. Because, if God forbid something happened to your starter, you need to be ready to step in, especially when your team is playing well, right? Because you can't miss a beat. If your team's going to have high expectations, should you ever need to go in there, you need to meet those. Might as well get those reps in.
And that's how Michael Berluti kind of got his start last year. After Woodson unfortunately had to miss out on some time due to injury, Berluti came and kind of sparked that second half, run of momentum that the Jumbos had last year. DeLumo coming back into the game here. Clock is still continuing to run. It's about 3 minutes left to go here in this game.
And timeout on the Bowdoin side. Maybe a little gamesmanship here after the Jumbos passed a couple times. Both sides, playing with the other. I'm not exactly sure why you need a timeout here. Obviously never say never, but it is a 25-point game with 3 minutes and 21 seconds to go.
It seems like if they wanted to call that timeout, they should have done it just a little bit sooner.
Yeah, maybe, about an hour and a half ago, if possible. But you know what? Better late than never, you know what they say.
Very successful homecoming weekend overall here, Scott. The volleyball team with a 2-1 record over the weekend, unfortunately dropping their last game earlier this evening to Hope University. And, of course, football under the lights for the first time since 2016. And we hope to see more of these games, of course, in the future. Of course, a very fun atmosphere to be a part of.
Absolutely. A lot of success. Obviously, being honored earlier this game, the Jumbos, that success was noted, and that success has continued into this year.
Riley looks back. Pass is complete. Not sure if it was enough for that first down. Reception to Ryan Doyle, the sophomore out of Durham, Connecticut. Doyle has some fans in the crowd. Appeared in 4 games last season with 2 receptions, once against Amherst, the other against Bates. Now gets one against Bowdoin. It's 4th and 2. Let's see what the Jumbos decide to do. Looks like they have their full offensive unit up at the ready.
Adding insult to injury.
Crowley will get sacked. A nice play here by the Bowdoin defense to prevent another score from going up onto the board.
Yeah, it feels like that might be the football gods, wreaking havoc on the Jumbos for going for 4th and 2 when they're up 25 late in the 4th quarter. Felt like that was coming. It felt like that might have been a little unnecessary, although, again, there's no substitute for live game action.
So we're winding down here at the Ellis Oval. Again, thank you all for sticking by with us for a very exciting homecoming game here for Tufts against Bowdoin. New quarterback in here for the Polar Bears.
There he goes.
A very big open
run
has been had by DeHert. And he's going all the way over to the 35. Eli DeHert.
I mean, great run, first of all. You're looking at the Bowdoin sideline. I think what's going through their head is, oh, my God, where has that been? Talk about things that need to happen about an hour earlier.
Down to the Tufts 40. Robbie Long, the sophomore out of Dunstable, Mass, has entered the game for what might be this last possession here for the Polar Bears here in Medford. Pass is complete.
Robbie Long's pass is complete to Nick Smith. To gain of 5, it'll be 2nd and 5 for the Polar Bears.
They're going to run it quick. This might be the last play here of the game. Maybe one more will have to be played here, but again, Scott, very dominant showing out of the Jumbos. And so if we take a look at what they might have to do for the rest of this season, of course, not necessarily the toughest strength of schedule, of course, other than Trinity so far, at least in their 3 wins. These next tests up against Wesleyan and Amherst in the next couple weeks are going to be very important on them.
Yeah, they absolutely will be. And then you get, Hamilton and Colby after that. So you're definitely looking for two big wins, of course. But, my eye is going to go to that last weekend with Middlebury. That'll be a big game, of course. Middlebury continues to be undefeated. It'll be right here. 12:30 start in about a month. That at the way both teams are playing, that could shape up to really, really be important as far as final standings.
It's about staying hot here for the Jumbos. They will soon have won 3 straight games. And we'll just have to keep that streak going if they want that game versus Middlebury to have that sort of impact. 4th down, pass all the way downfield, and it has been retrieved, stopping just outside of the end zone. What a catch.
And I got to give credit where credit is due. Robbie Long, that's my left-handed quarterback. Left-handed representation in sorely lacking in college football in the NFL. good to see some of us left-handers getting some minutes.
I believe that was Pistemski here on the catch. Has been utilized in multiple roles, both as a receiver and as that kickoff returner. And now Bowdoin will get a chance to score with a minute left to go.
He's in.
He's going to come through. It is a touchdown here for the Polar Bears, albeit a bit, a bit too late for some sort of meaningful comeback to happen.
If this was, maybe a more high-profile national game, that might be what we call a bad beat. Because talk about a potential line mover. 6 points scored with under a minute left on a 4th down. Could make a lot of bettors unhappy there.
Do you think anyone's betting on this game?
I'm not sure. It is now legal in Massachusetts for 21-year-olds. Always bet responsibly if you are.
And Casey's extra point attempt is good, so has been able to convert on one here for the day. As the Jumbos will get one more run of possession and probably just 2 plays left to close it out.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Bowdoin decided to use their last timeout, given that the Jumbos can just kneel it either way. We'll see what they end up doing. Again, if they show any of that gamesmanship going it forward on 4th down. I mean, with the new quarterback, you kind of understand that, especially if you're trailing. Jumbos, I imagine, will be content to catch this ball and kneel it a couple times and sail off into the sunset.
Well, the sun's already set.
Well, it's sunny somewhere, Andrew.
Casey back to kick. As Smith will await, we'll call that fair catch. And we'll once again, be around the time where this game will close out.
Feels like we've been saying that for about 20 minutes now, but yeah, this time we mean it, guys. It is about to wrap up here from Ellis Oval.
Want to send some love out to everybody here on the production crew at JumboCast. Henry Stahl, our beautiful director. Ethan Grublich on the scoreboard. Ethan Ito and Philip Lengiel over up top on the cameras. They have a tough job, Scott, up in the freezing cold.
Oh, man. Do not envy them. It's pretty nice and warm inside this press booth. One final shout-out to Sam Brill. You may recognize him as the most common voice of JumboCast on these football games, but whenever he calls games we seem to lose. We subbed out for him today, and I think we did a pretty admirable job, Andrew, because look at the scoreboard. I'll consider that a victory any day of the week.
Well, a victory for the Jumbos as well, as looks like another kneel will come through for Crowley in just a couple of seconds. We hope that Sam Brill gets a couple of victories in the next couple of weeks. The Jumbos off to a good start, 3-1.
Yeah. And with this kneel, that will end the game. Jumbos will watch the clock run out on this one. Final score will be 31-13.
What a strong victory here for the Jumbos, primarily utilizing that second quarter for a large proportion of their offense. Remember when this game was scoreless at the end of one? Of course, the Jumbos made that a quick change as soon as they entered the second quarter of play. But kind of a dominant victory all throughout, especially when you take a look at some of the yardage and, of course, those big passes that ended up happening.
Yeah, I think the one thing the Jumbos will take away is they're still slow. I bet they're still starting a bit slow for their liking. Again, we talked about it at the Open that we felt like, they could be coming out of the gates a little faster. They've struggled in the first few minutes, and you saw the same thing a bit offensively. Ended that first quarter 0-0, although they had swung some momentum their way. So I think that's going to be a point of emphasis going forward. Otherwise, it's a pretty comprehensive effort. Special teams was great. Defense was great, only giving up 6 points, 13 points, yes, really 6 points when it really mattered. The offense, of course, turning it on when it mattered most, putting a lot of separation really quickly between the teams and allowing everyone to relax and play their best ball.
Some highlights here across the statistical line here for the Jumbos. Berluti with 336 receiving yards on 21 completions. Phil Lutz, the lead receiver here for the Jumbos with 117 yards off of 9 catches. Jaden Richardson with 96 yards. Cade Moore hitting that triple-digit mark off of just 3 catches, with his long one being 54. And, of course, on the run, Tyler Johnson with that 99 mark, barely missing out on that triple-digit mark. You're gonna be sure he's going to want that one back.
But, again, it's all about, the improvement. And, again, going from 15 yards for Tyler Johnson last week up to 99 this week, it's a huge step forward, and it's really a perfect complement for Berluti, who continued his torrid pace today in much less game action, given he subbed out with over a quarter left to play.
Well, that will do it for our homecoming weekend broadcast coverage here at Tufts JumboCast. On behalf of Henry Stahl, Ethan Ida, Philip Langil, Ethan Grubelich, Scott Blatt, I have been Andrew Howe saying good night and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
So hypnotic, magical.